The day I died, I overheard a conversation between my mother and my adopted sister. Do you think your sister will hate us? How could she? Didn't she forgive you when you got her caught cheating on the college entrance exam? My mother said, that wasn't my fault, you were the one who made me pass her the note, and you were the one who reported it. My foster sister laughed, but I was just joking, so light-hearted. Destroying my entire life, just a joke, and then I died, no hope for this life. Born again from death, when I opened my eyes again, I was back in my senior year of high school. This time, I don't intend to forgive anyone anymore. I can't remember how many times I've been beaten. When my husband Jiang Ming's fists landed on me, I could no longer feel the pain, only numbness remained. This time, it was because I came home late from working overtime and didn't cook for him in time. He said I wasn't behaving like a proper wife and accused me of seducing some other man outside. I tried to defend myself with a few words, but his eyes turned red, and he grabbed my hair, slamming my head against the wall. I dragged my bruised body back to my parents' home. As soon as the door opened, my mother Zhao Shufan was shelling beans in the living room. She froze for a moment when she saw me, then frowned. What now, Mom? I want a divorce from Jiang Ming. As soon as the words left my mouth, my foster sister Shen Yuqing poked her head out from the room, seeing the bruises on my face. She didn't seem surprised, just pursed her lips and retreated back inside. My mother sighed, her tone full of impatience. Divorce, divorce, you talk about divorce every day. What man could stand you? Jiang Ming is such a good kid, he has a stable job, he's honest, he just has a bit of a temper. Can't you just give in a little? He hit me, I said, rolling up my sleeve to reveal the bruised arm. Mom, he hit me. My mother glanced at it, then turned away and continued shelling her beans. That's because you provoked him. If you were more obedient, would he have hit you? Exactly. My father, Shen Jiangwo, chimed in from behind his newspaper, pushing up his reading glasses. Men can't always control their tempers when they get angry. You need to learn to be more submissive. A woman's duty is to take care of her husband and children at home. You're already 30. Who would want you if you got divorced? I stood at the door, watching one of them reading a newspaper and the other shelling beans, as if I were just commenting on the nice weather today. Shen Yuqing came out again, holding a cup of hot water to her mother, affectionately leaning on her mother's shoulder. Mom, don't be angry, sister just doesn't understand things, you know that. Her mother patted her hand, finally smiling. You're the one who's thoughtful, Ching. I turned and walked away. I didn't want to listen anymore, I didn't want to watch anymore. After taking a few steps, I realized I had left my phone on the sofa. When I turned back to get it, the door wasn't closed properly, and the voices inside made me stop in my tracks. Mom, we can't let her get a divorce. It was Shen Yuqing's voice, soft and with a playful lilt at the end. Jiang Ming is the man we carefully chose for her. If she divorces, she'll run away. Her mother's voice came through. Exactly. If she gets a divorce, she might just run off to work in another city. Who would take care of us then? That's right, Shen Yuqing's voice was sickly sweet. Sister has good legs and a sharp mind. She had good grades back then. If it weren't for, she would have been in a big city by now, not stuck in this small place with us. Father coughed lightly. Let's not bring up what happened back then. Why can't we talk about it? Shen Yuqing's voice suddenly changed, no longer sweet but carrying a hint of coldness. Dad, Mom, you know very well that if I hadn't run out and gotten into trouble back then, my leg wouldn't have ended up like this. When my sister came back, all your attention was on her. I was upset, so I ran out. She owes me. Yes, she owes you. Her mother quickly soothed her. Don't cry, Ching. Mom knows you've been wronged. Shen Yuqing sniffled, her voice softening again. I'm just scared. My sister is smart and capable. What if she gets into a good university and runs far away, not caring about you? Who will take care of you then? Who will take care of me? My legs aren't good. How will I survive without you? Mother's voice was filled with concern. No, I won't let her run away. That's why, Shen Yuqing said slowly, we have to keep her here, find her a decent man to marry, someone local, right under our noses. If she runs away, who will take care of our parents? Who will take care of me? My sister owes me, and she has to pay it back. Father was silent for a moment before speaking. Jiang Ming, his temper is a bit bad, but his conditions are not bad. Women, once they marry, they follow their husbands, and over time, they come to accept their fate. Exactly, Mother agreed. Once she has children, her heart will settle. That's how all women are. Shen Yuqing giggled. Mom and Dad still dote on me the most. I stood outside the door, my fingers gripping the doorknob until my knuckles turned white. So that's how it is. So Jiang Ming was the one they had carefully chosen, so they had known from the very beginning. I let go of my hand and didn't push the door open. There's no need anymore, to reassure Shen Yuqing, to make this daughter they've raised for over a decade feel favored, to keep this child with poor legs from causing trouble, running away, or leaving them. They sacrificed me, a biological daughter, destroyed by her own parents. It took me 10 years to figure this out, and the truth was hidden behind a slightly ajar door. My body grew heavier, and my eyelids became heavier. The streetlights blurred into halos one by one, and I heard the sound of a car behind me, getting closer and louder. Then came a sharp pain. I lay on the ground. The sky in my line of sight was gray and empty. The moment I closed my eyes, I suddenly thought, how wonderful it would be if all of this could start over. How I wish I could start over. When I opened my eyes again, what I saw was the ceiling of the classroom. The fan overhead creaked as it spun, and outside the window was the glaring sun of late May. The invigilator on the podium was looking down at their phone, while all around, the sound of rustling pens filled the air. I froze for several seconds. This was the examination hall for the 5th mock exam of my senior year of high school. I looked down at the desk. There was the math test paper, and I had just reached the 8th multiple-choice question. On the scratch paper was my familiar handwriting, and beside my hand lay a black gel pen I had used for 3 years. I have been reborn, returned to the last mock exam before the college entrance exam. My heart skipped a beat, and I tightly gripped the pen. My nails digging into my palm, it hurt. It wasn't a dream. Before I could fully process this fact, something poked my back. I didn't move. It poked again, harder this time, and the pen tip jabbed painfully through my clothes. Then the chair was gently kicked. I lowered my eyes and slowly let out a breath. Here it comes. Without turning around, I kept holding the pen in my right hand while discreetly reaching under the chair with my left. Sure enough, I felt a folded note. I held the note without unfolding it and didn't look back at Chen Xiao, who was sitting behind me to the right. She is Shen Yuqing's best friend. Since high school, they have been inseparable. Chen Xiao calls her Qingqing, runs errands for her, passes messages on her behalf, and is the first to rush into arguments when others mock her for her limp. In my previous life, at this very moment, Chen Xiao would also poke my back, kick my chair, and slip a note into my hand. On the note were the solutions to several major problems, with handwriting that closely mimicked mine. At the time, I thought she genuinely didn't know how to solve them but was too embarrassed to ask directly, especially since she was Shen Yuqing's friend, and my relationship with Shen Yuqing had always been delicate. She poked me for a full 15 minutes, and I was so annoyed that, almost without thinking, I handed back the note filled with answers. Then she raised her hand. Teacher, Shen Sui cheated. She passed me a note. The entire exam hall fell silent for a second, then erupted like a boiling pot. I was left speechless. The note was in my handwriting, passed from my hand, and everyone saw it. I said Chen Xiao poked me first, kicked me first, and shoved the note into my hand first, but it was useless. You have good grades, she has poor grades. How could she pass answers to you? The Dean of Discipline asked me. I can't answer that. That cheating incident during the mock exam was recorded in my file, leaving a stain on the last major exam before the college entrance exam. The homeroom teacher called me for a talk. Classmates whispered behind my back, and Shen Yuqing spoke up for me at the family dinner table. Sister definitely didn't mean to do it. She probably just wanted to do really well. Please don't blame her. My mother stroked her head and said, Our Yuqing is such a sensible girl. My father glanced at me but said nothing. That page of the file was like a thorn, piercing me. Later, during the college entrance exam, the same accusation happened again. Because of my previous record, I didn't even get a chance to explain. All my scores were directly cancelled. This time, I won't make the same mistake again. The note was clenched in my left palm, but I didn't unfold it or turn around. Chen Xiao was still poking my back, harder and harder, and the chair was being kicked so lightly that it swayed. I take a deep breath, and then I deliberately dropped my pen on the ground. When I bent down to pick it up, I made a big movement, and the chair let out a harsh sound. The invigilator looked up and over. In that instant, I kicked the note under the chair with my foot, while my right hand picked up the pen from the ground. When I straightened up, my hands were empty. Chen Xiao didn't see me switch the notes. She only saw me bend down, thinking I had finished writing the answers. Teacher, her voice was particularly loud in the quiet exam hall. With a deliberately clear tone, Shen Sui is cheating. She just passed a note to the back. In an instant, all eyes turned towards me. The students in the front row looked back at me. Those in the back craned their necks to see, and the neighboring group whispered among themselves. The looks in their eyes held surprise, excitement, schadenfreude, but not a single trace of surprise. The invigilator walked over quickly, his face looking quite displeased. Shen Sui, hand over the note. I raised my head, looked the teacher in the eye, and spoke calmly. I didn't cheat. I saw it with my own eyes. Chen Xiao's voice rose sharply. She bent over just now to pass a note. The note must still be in her hand. Whispers broke out around them. No way, Shen Sui cheated. She has such good grades. Why would she need to cheat? Who knows? Maybe she just wants a higher score. Isn't Chen Xiao a friend of her sister? Why report her? Chen Xiao straightened her back and raised her voice. Just because someone has good grades doesn't mean they can cheat. Cheating is cheating. It has nothing to do with how good your grades are. She spoke with righteous indignation, her chin slightly raised, like a proud little rooster. I didn't argue, just slowly spread my hands. Left hand, empty. Right hand, empty. Teacher, I don't have any notes. Chen Xiao froze, her expression changing for a moment, but she quickly regained her composure. It must be in your pocket, or you hid it under the desk. The invigilator hesitated for a moment but still had me stand up, checking my pockets, pencil case, desk, and under the chair. Nothing at all. The note lay quietly under my chair, half hidden by the table leg, and it would be impossible to notice it without deliberately bending down to look. Chen Xiao started to panic, her voice rising in pitch. It's impossible. I clearly saw it. What exactly did you clearly see? I turned around and looked her directly in the eyes. She took half a step back under my gaze, her lips moving but no words coming out. At that moment, the boy sitting diagonally in front of me suddenly bent down and picked up a note from the floor. Teacher, there's a note here. Chen Xiao's eyes lit up, but before she could speak, the boy added, I found it under Chen Xiao's chair. The examination hall fell completely silent. The invigilator walked over, took the note, unfolded it, glanced at it, and her expression changed. Chen Xiao, is this yours? No, it's not mine. Her voice was so sharp it almost cracked. It's Shen Sui's. It must have been her who threw it over just now. I didn't leave my seat, I said calmly, and I didn't have anything in my hands just now. Everyone saw that. Several classmates around nodded. That must have been thrown earlier. Chen Xiao's voice began to tremble. That makes even less sense. I tilted my head. If I wanted to cheat, why would I throw the answers under your chair? Someone in the exam hall chuckled softly. The proctor didn't smile. She turned the note over and examined it several times, then suddenly looked up and asked Chen Xiao, is this handwriting yours? Chen Xiao's face instantly turned pale. The problem-solving steps on that note were not in my handwriting. They were written by her herself. In the previous life, she had imitated my handwriting. In this life, I didn't give her the chance to imitate. The note originally contained the answers she had written herself. She had prepared the cheat sheet to slip to me, then planned to report me, only this time, the note never passed through my hands. It fell directly under her own chair. No, it wasn't me. Her voice grew softer and softer, and her shoulders began to tremble. Then let's check the surveillance footage, I suggested. Chen Xiao suddenly looked up, her eyes filled with terror. Of course she was afraid. The surveillance would show that it was her who kept poking my back, her who first passed things over to me, and her who raised her hand to report me. Everything was completely opposite to what she had claimed. No need to check the surveillance. Her voice was already trembling with tears. It might be that I made a mistake. I repeated those 3 words softly. You made a mistake, and you want to throw dirt on me. Her lips trembled, unable to speak. The invigilator glanced at her, then looked at me, and sighed. Both of you, come to the office after the exam. I didn't say anything more and turned around to continue answering the questions. Chen Xiao behind me was lying on the desk, her shoulders heaving, but no one spoke up for her. After the exam, Chen Xiao and I were called to the office. Class teacher Mr. Wang was already waiting, with the note spread out in front of him, his expression very serious. Speak up, what happened? Chen Xiao kept her head down, not saying a word, her fingers twisting the hem of her clothes, her whole body curled up. Chen Xiao, you go first. She opened her mouth, her voice as faint as a mosquito's hum. I didn't mean to, I just, what is it? She suddenly looked up, glanced at me, then quickly lowered her head again. Tears fell with a patter. It's someone who made me do it. Who made you do it? She didn't speak, just cried. The office door was pushed open, and Shen Yuqing entered leaning on a crutch, followed by my parents. As soon as my mother stepped in, she rushed to me. pointing her finger at my nose and scolding, Shen Sui. Have you been bullying Qingqing's friend again? How could you be so vicious? My father stood behind, his face ashen. You're causing trouble all day long, can't you just calm down? The college entrance exam is just around the corner, and you're still messing around with this nonsense. I didn't say anything, just looked at them, watching my mother rush into the office to scold me just because of a word from Shen Yuqing, watching my father unreasonably conclude that it was my fault without asking any questions. Shen Yuqing stood at the door, her eyes red, her voice soft and delicate. Auntie, it's not sister's fault, it's Xiao's fault. She shouldn't have, she was just trying to help me. She choked on her words here, lowering her head to wipe her eyes. It's all my fault, it's all my fault. Chen Xiao suddenly looked up at her, her lips moving as if she wanted to say something, but ultimately she remained silent. My mother was heartbroken, hugging Shen Yuqing tightly. Qingqing, don't cry, it's not your fault. Your legs aren't well, don't stand, sit down quickly. She helped Shen Yuqing sit down in a chair, then turned to glare at me. Look at your sister, how sensible, and then look at you, all you do is cause trouble. Exactly, father added, your sister has trouble with her legs, can't you just let her have her way? I stood in the center of the office, watching this scene, and suddenly felt very quiet, quiet enough to hear my own heartbeat. It was the same in my previous life. No matter what happened, in the end, it always became my fault, as long as Shen Yuqing shed a few tears and said, it's all my fault. Everyone would feel sorry for her and then turn to blame me. Shen Sui, why are you bullying your sister again? Shen Sui, can't you just give in to her a little? Shen Sui, her legs aren't good, why are you even bothering to argue with her? I gave in to everything, I gave up my grades, my college entrance exam, my life, I gave everything to her, and in the end, I even gave up my life. This time, no more. Teacher Wang, I began, my voice not loud but steady, I want to check the surveillance footage. The office fell silent for a moment. Chen Xiao's crying paused for a second, then grew louder. Shen Yuqing's hand froze midair as she wiped her eyes. Her mother paused for a moment, then became even angrier. Why check the surveillance? Do you think you're in the right? Your sister already said it wasn't your fault. What more do you want? I want to know the truth, I said, looking into my mother's eyes. Mom, don't you want to know the truth? She averted her gaze, unable to meet my stare. Mr. Wang glanced at me, then at Chen Xiao and Shen Yuqing, and nodded. Check it. The surveillance footage was retrieved, everything clear as day. Chen Xiao first poked my back, kicked my chair, then wrote something down, clenched it in her hand. I didn't turn around the whole time, only bending down to pick up a pen. She raised her hand to report. I spread my hands, showing nothing. The note under her chair was discovered. Throughout, I didn't pass anything to anyone. The office was quiet for a long time. Chen Xiao finally broke down, crouching on the ground and crying out. It was Shen Yuqing who made me do it. She made me frame Shen Sui. She said Shen Sui was a hypocritical bitch, and all of this was what she deserved, and told me to help her destroy her. Shen Yuqing's face turned pale in an instant. You're lying. She suddenly stood up, almost losing her cane. When did I ever tell you to do that? Xiao, we're friends. How could you frame me? I didn't frame you. Chen Xiao raised her head, tears streaking her face. You said it yourself. You said as long as Shen Sui had trouble, you'd be happy. Your parents would give up on her, and they'd only dote on you. You said you could use them to control Shen Sui. You said, enough. Her mother cut her off, but her voice was clearly flustered. She turned to look at Shen Yuqing, her expression complicated. Shen Yuqing's eyes reddened, her lips trembling as tears fell one by one. Mom, I didn't, I really didn't. Why would Xiao do this to me? We're good friends. She cried, so wronged, so helpless, that the hand holding the cane was trembling. Her mother looked at her for a few seconds, then sighed and walked over to hug her. There, Mom knows you didn't mean it. It must have been that Chen Xiao who came up with it herself and blamed it on you. Her father nodded beside her. Exactly. Qingqing has trouble with her legs. How could she have the mind for such things? It must be that Chen Xiao who is jealous of Shen Sui's good grades and using Qingqing as a scapegoat. Shen Yuqing buried her face in her mother's shoulder, her shoulders heaving. I didn't see her expression, but I saw the corner of her mouth, at an angle where her mother couldn't see, gently lift for a moment. Teacher Wang frowned and was about to say something, but at that moment, another voice spoke up. Wait a moment. It was Teacher Li from the next class. She had been correcting homework in the corner of the office and now stood up. Putting down her red pen, she walked to the surveillance screen, pointed at the timeline on the screen, and spoke in a calm, unhurried tone. This Chen Xiao started poking Shen Sui's back from the 10th minute after the exam began. She spent nearly 20 minutes writing crib notes before finally raising her hand to report. If no one was instigating her, why would an average student spend 20 minutes to frame someone who had no grudge against her? She looked at Shen Yuqing, her gaze calm. And Chen Xiao said she was doing it to help Shen Yuqing, didn't she? Shen Yuqing's sobs paused for a moment. Her mother hugged Shen Yuqing even tighter. Teacher Li, what do you mean? Are you saying our Qingqing is lying? I didn't say she was lying. Teacher Li's voice remained calm and unhurried. I just said that the surveillance is here, and the truth is here. It's clear that Shen Sui was framed. As for who was behind it, everyone has their suspicions. Mother's face turned red, and she was about to say something, but Teacher Wang waved his hand. All right, the matter has been clarified. Shen Sui did not cheat. It was Chen Xiao who framed her classmate. I will report this, and appropriate disciplinary actions will be taken. Chen Xiao slumped to the ground, crying too hard to speak. Shen Yuqing leaned against her mother's embrace, no longer crying or speaking, her fingers tightly clutched at her mother's hem, her knuckles turning white. Her mother held her close, glancing up at me. In that glance was reproach, impatience, and something else I couldn't quite put my finger on, as if blaming me for not accepting the injustice quietly, as if blaming me for insisting on checking the surveillance, as if blaming me for making a big deal out of things and embarrassing her Qingqing. All right, everyone go back, sighed Teacher Wang. Shen Sui, you stay. Her mother helped Shen Yuqing walk out. As they passed by me, Shen Yuqing paused for a moment and looked up at me. Her eyes were still red, and tears clung to her lashes. Her expression, like that of a wronged little animal, was innocent, pitiful, and endearing, but I saw it, seeing the fleeting, icy hatred deep in her eyes. The door closed. Teacher Wang asked me to sit down and poured me a glass of water. Shen Sui, he carefully chose his words, I know a bit about your family situation. As for your sister, she's not my sister. I interrupted him. Mr. Wang paused for a moment. I realized what I had said, closed my eyes, and corrected myself. She's my sister, but not by blood. I was lost and then found again. She was adopted by my mother. Her legs are not good because she couldn't accept my return that year, ran out, and fell down the steps. That's why the whole family feels I owe her. The office was silent for a long time. Mr. Wang's gaze changed, from stern to sympathetic, and then to something I couldn't quite understand. Shen Sui, he said slowly, you don't owe anyone anything. My eyes suddenly stung. It wasn't your fault that you got lost, it wasn't your fault that you were found, and it certainly wasn't your fault that she ran away. His voice was soft, but each word carried weight. You don't need to take responsibility for other people's choices. I lowered my head, my fingers gripping the paper cup until my knuckles turned white. How many years has it been? No one has ever said that to me before. Mr. Wang didn't say anything more, just patted my shoulder and said, prepare well for the college entrance exam. The farther you go, the better. I looked up, met his eyes, and nodded firmly. When I walked out of the office, the sunset at the end of the corridor was very red. I leaned against the wall, tilted my head back, and let the tears flow back. In this lifetime, I won't let them destroy me again. I won't let anyone destroy me again. Shen Yuqing insisted on me going to the bookstore with her. Mom, let sister come with me, she cooed, clinging to her mother's arm like a piece of cotton candy. I need to buy some high-pressure exam papers. I can't carry them alone. Mother glanced at me. Go with your sister. I was in my room memorizing words, not even looking up. No, you child. My mother frowned. What's the big deal about your sister asking you to accompany her to buy a book? It won't take up much of your time. She has someone to accompany her. I turned a page of my book. Isn't Chen Xiao her good friend? Let Chen Xiao go with her. Shen Yuqing's eyes immediately reddened. Xiao, she hasn't been paying attention to me lately. After that incident last time, her parents won't let her play with me anymore. Sister, did you say something to her? I didn't say anything. Why won't she talk to me anymore? Shen Yuqing's voice trembled with tears. I know I was wrong last time, but I really didn't ask Xiao to do that. Sister, are you still blaming me? Her mother patted her hand with affection and turned to glare at me. Your sister has already apologized to you. What more do you want? She has trouble walking, so what's the big deal about you accompanying her to the bookstore? You're her older sister. Father peeked out from behind his newspaper. Go on, go with your sister. It's not a big deal. I looked at the three of them and suddenly found it all quite amusing. There was no such incident of accompanying her to the bookstore in the past life. Probably because the last attempt to frame me with cheating didn't succeed. Shen Yuqing wasn't willing to let it go and insisted on causing some trouble again. That's just how she is. If one thing doesn't work, she won't give up, she'll just try a different approach. Alright, I put down my vocabulary book. Let's go then. Shen Yuqing immediately stopped crying and smiled, running over to hold my arm. Thank you, sister. I looked down at her holding my hand but didn't pull away or respond. At the bookstore, Shen Yuqing said she wanted to pick out some specialized training books for English reading comprehension and asked me to help her look. I flipped through a few at random, my peripheral vision always following her movements. She circled around me a few times, selected a few books, and then put them down. Then she said she was going to check another row of bookshelves and asked me to wait here. I emmed in response and didn't follow her, but I saw her glance back at me as she turned the corner. I lowered my eyes, took 3 volumes of past college entrance exam papers from the bookshelf and walked to the checkout counter to pay. Then I put the purchased books into my backpack and returned to my original spot to continue waiting for her. After about 10 minutes, Shen Yuqing hobbled over on crutches, holding a few books in her arms. Sister, I've picked them out, let's go. Okay. We walked to the entrance together. The alarm went off, a sharp, piercing screech echoed through the bookstore, drawing everyone's attention. The owner behind the cash register looked up, frowned, and walked over. Little girl, do you have any books in your bag that haven't been checked out? Shen Yuqing gasped, covering her mouth in surprise as she looked at me. Sister, did you forget to check out? I didn't say anything. The owner gestured for me to open my bag. I handed it over, and he rummaged through it, pulling out 4 high school exam prep books, all of which hadn't been checked out. What's going on here? The boss's expression didn't look too good. Shen Yuqing widened her eyes, speaking in a voice that was neither too loud nor too soft, just enough for everyone around to hear. Sister, how could you do this? How much do these few books cost? If you wanted to buy them, you could have just asked the family for money. How could you steal? As she spoke, she took out her wallet from her pocket, looking at me with a pained expression. I'll pay for you. Just apologize to the boss, and this matter will be over. The people around began to murmur. This little girl looks so quiet. How could she steal? Exactly, the girl next to her with the bad leg is so nice, even helped her pay. It's really different fates for different people, these kids nowadays. TSK. Shen Yuqing lowered her head, the corners of her mouth slightly raised, pretending to be flipping through her wallet. I looked at her profile and slowly began to speak. I didn't steal it. Shen Yuqing raised her head, looking innocent. Sister, the book was found in your bag, right? I nodded. The book was found in my bag, but I didn't put it there. The boss was taken aback for a moment. Little girl, what do you mean by that? I looked into Shen Yuqing's eyes and said word by word, what I mean is, someone took advantage of my inattention and slipped the book into my backpack. Shen Yuqing's expression changed slightly, but she quickly regained that aggrieved look. Sister, what are you talking about? I've been picking out books the whole time. How could I? I didn't say it was you. I interrupted her. Then I took out the 3 books I had just paid for from my backpack and held them up to the owner. Boss, look, these 3 are the ones I bought myself, and I've already paid for them. The 4 books that were found in my bag are duplicates of the 3 I bought. The owner took them and flipped through them, frowning. These are all collections of past college entrance exam questions. Buying 3 is already more than enough for me. Why would I need to steal a few identical ones as souvenirs? The surroundings fell silent for a moment. Shen Yuqing's voice began to tremble. That might be a mistake. You picked up something heavy. Picked up something heavy. I smiled. Those 4 books were at the very bottom of my backpack, with my own books and the things I bought on top. If I had taken them myself, they should have been on top. The only way they could be at the bottom is if someone slipped them in while I was away. Shen Yuqing's face turned completely pale. The boss looked at her, his gaze turning scrutinizing. I just left my backpack on a chair in the rest area, I said slowly, while I was browsing books on another shelf. There weren't many people in the bookstore at the time, so the surveillance cameras should have captured anyone who touched my bag. Shen Yuqing's hands began to tremble, and she almost lost her grip on her cane. Let's call the police, I said calmly. No, we can't call the police, Shen Yuqing blurted out, her voice cracking sharply. Everyone was looking at her, her lips trembled, and tears fell one by one. I didn't mean it that way. I mean, we're all family. Calling the police would be too embarrassing. Sister, please forgive me this once. I didn't do it on purpose. If it wasn't you who stole it, why are you apologizing? I looked at her. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. It was you who did it. wasn't it?" My voice was calm, not accusatory. Just stating a fact. Shin Yuqing's tears fell even harder, her whole body trembling like a sieve. I just wanted to play a joke on you. I didn't know it would turn out like this. Sister, please don't be angry. A joke." I repeated those 3 words. No one around was laughing anymore. The old man who had just said, "Different people, different fates," was now looking at Shin Yuqing with an extremely complex expression. "Little girl," the shopkeeper threw 4 books onto the counter, his voice cold. "Since you put them there, you pay for them." Shin Yuqing sniffled as she rummaged through her wallet, but after a couple of tries, she froze. She didn't have enough money. She looked at me pleadingly. "Sister, can you?" "No." I slung my backpack over my shoulder and walked out without looking back. Behind me came Shin Yuqing's voice, tinged with tears. "Boss, I'll pay next time." "No, you must pay today. Then I'll call my mom to bring it over." When I walked out of the bookstore, the sun was blazing, and the streets were bustling with people. Shin Yuqing is always so confident, as if I should just surrender and let her push me around. She thinks I'll still be the same as before. It seems the lesson from Chen Xiao last time didn't leave a deep enough impression on her. Someone is watching me, their gaze filled with sympathy, curiosity, and pity. I didn't look back. When I got home, Shin Yuqing had already returned before me. She was lying on the sofa, crying her heart out, her face smeared with tears and snot. My mother sat beside her, patting her back, while my father stood on the balcony smoking, his face ashen. As soon as I stepped through the door, Shin Yuqing's sobs intensified. "Sister is back. Sister, I'm sorry, I really didn't mean it. I just wanted to play a joke on you." Sob. Mother looked up at me, her eyes full of blame. "Shin Sui, what's wrong with you? Your sister has trouble with her legs. Can't you be more accommodating when you take her out? Making her lose face in front of so many people at the bookstore. What are you thinking?" She stuffed books into my bag and accused me of stealing. I stood at the door, my voice calm. "Isn't that just a joke?" Mother's voice rose. "Do you have to take it so seriously? She's your sister, she has trouble with her legs. Can't you just let her win?" It's starting again. The one who made the mistake is Shin Yuqing, but the sinner is Shin Sui. She was just joking with you. She's your sister. Can't you just let her have her way? Her leg isn't well. Why are you making a big deal out of it with her? Every time, every single time, it's the same. Father snuffed out his cigarette and walked over, not saying a word, and raised his hand to deliver a slap. A crisp smack echoed, and my face was slapped to the side, my ears ringing. "You think you're in the right." His voice was low, as if afraid the neighbors would hear. "Your sister has bad legs. Can't you just take the blame for this mess? Why make her lose face outside? We're all family. Making her look bad outside, does that make you look good?" My face burned with pain, and the metallic taste of blood filled my mouth. Shin Yuqing's sobs paused for a moment as she peeked at me through her fingers. My mother chimed in. "Exactly. What's the big deal in admitting the book was yours? Your sister has bad legs. Can't you just take the blame for her? Why make such a scene and let others laugh at our family?" I slowly raised my head and looked at them. Sure, I heard my own voice, very soft, very calm. "Next time something like this happens, I'll call you right away. You come to the bookstore, say you stole it, you take the blame for her. After all, we're all family." The living room was silent for a moment. Father's face flushed a deep purple, and he lifted his foot to kick me hard on the thigh. I staggered and crashed into the doorframe, the back of my head hitting the wood, and my vision went dark for a moment. "Say that again, you little shit." His voice was trembling. All right. Mother came over to pull him away. "Stop hitting him. What if you hurt him badly?" She wasn't worried about me. She was afraid that if I got injured, it would be hard to explain when the teacher asked about it at school tomorrow. Shin Yuqing sat up from the sofa, her eyes red from crying, looking at me timidly. "Sister, don't be angry. It's my fault. It's all my fault." I leaned against the doorframe, looking at her pitiful appearance, and suddenly laughed. "It's okay," I said. "You're right. It was all just a joke." Then I went back to my room and closed the door. In the mirror, my left cheek was swollen high, with 5 finger marks clearly visible. There was a cut at the corner of my mouth, and the blood had already dried. The spot on my thigh where I had been kicked burned with a sharp pain, and there was a lump on the back of my head. I looked at myself in the mirror and slowly smiled. Then I raised my hand and slapped my swollen left cheek hard once more. Smack. The pain was searing. Not enough. I slapped him again. Smack. The blood at the corner of my mouth seeped out again. Then I pinched myself, on my arms, my waist. the insides of my thighs, each time harder than the last, and bruises in shades of purple began to appear in patches. In the mirror, the person staring back had disheveled hair, a swollen face, blood at the corner of their mouth, and marks all over their arms. I looked at myself in the mirror, slowly pulled my lips into a grin, and smiled. The next morning, I went to school as usual. I didn't cover the injuries on my face at all. The 5-finger marks hadn't faded, my swollen face squeezed my eyes into slits, and the scab on the corner of my mouth looked shocking. When I walked into the classroom, everyone was stunned. "Shin Sui, what happened to your face?" my desk mate asked me softly. I smiled and said, "It's nothing, my sister stole a book from the bookstore, and I didn't take the blame for her, so my dad hit me." The voice was neither too loud nor too soft, just enough for half the classroom to hear. Shin Yuqing wasn't in our class, but her story spread quickly. Some people began whispering to each other, "Seriously, her sister stole the book. I was at the bookstore yesterday too, and I saw it. It was her sister with the bad leg who stuffed the book into Shin Sui's bag and then accused Shin Sui of stealing." When Shin Sui revealed the truth, her sister started crying and apologizing. "Damn, that's so disgusting, right? A sister doing something like that, they're not biological sisters." Shin Sui was lost and later found, and the other one is her mother's adopted daughter. No wonder, her parents still beat her. Why? It wasn't her who stole it. Who knows? Just because her sister has bad legs, having bad legs justifies stealing and framing someone. What kind of logic is that? The voices of discussion grew louder. I sat in my seat, opened my vocabulary book, and started memorizing words. Shin Yuqing's classroom was on the 3rd floor, but news spread faster than the wind. In less than a morning, the entire senior year knew Shin Yuqing had stolen a book from the bookstore, framed her sister, and when her sister didn't take the blame for her, she was beaten by her parents when she got home. It was said that Shin Yuqing cried with her head buried in her desk for an entire class, but no one comforted her. At noon, my homeroom teacher, Mr. Wang, called me into his office. "Shin Sui, the injury on your face." "It's nothing," I said. Teacher Wang looked at me, remaining silent for a long time. "Come with me." He took me to the director's office. The director was reading documents, and when he looked up and saw my face, he stopped writing with his pen. "What is going on here?" Teacher Wang briefly explained the cheating accusation and the theft allegation. The director's expression grew increasingly grim. "I suggest letting Shin Sui stay in the dormitory," said Teacher Wang. "The college entrance exam is approaching, and she needs a stable study environment." The director glanced at me, his gaze lingering on the bruises on my face for a long time. "Approved," he said. "Move today." As I left the director's office, Teacher Wang patted my shoulder. "The dormitory has been arranged. There's an empty bed on the 4th floor. Go pack your things, and move in tonight." I nodded. When I returned to the classroom, Shin Yuqing was standing at the door of our class, not sure when she had arrived. She was leaning on a crutch, her eyes red, and when she saw me, she hurried over in small steps, her voice soft and delicate. "Sister, Mom and Dad will worry if you move out. Can you please not worry?" I stopped and looked at her. "What are they worried about? That there'll be no one left for you to frame?" Her face turned pale in an instant. A few classmates who hadn't left yet heard this and immediately turned their gazes toward us. Shin Yuqing bit her lip, tears starting to fall again. "Sis, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please forgive me this time, okay?" "Okay," I said. She froze, not expecting me to agree so readily. "I forgive you," I said, looking into her eyes, word by word, "but I won't stay." Then I walked around her and entered the classroom. Behind me came her suppressed sobs, soft and gentle, like a discarded little animal. This time, no one went over to comfort her. Life in the dormitory was much quieter than I had imagined. No one suddenly barged in while I was reviewing, no one walked back and forth outside my room late at night, and no one spoke sarcastically at the dinner table, saying, "Sister's grades are good, unlike me, born under an unlucky star." The bed in the dormitory was hard, and the blanket was thin, but this was the best place I had ever lived in. Every morning at 6, I got up, ran 2 laps around the playground, then went to the classroom to memorize vocabulary. At noon, I ate in the cafeteria, with 3 dishes and a soup, which tasted better than the food at home. After evening self-study, I could stay in the classroom for an extra half hour without hurrying back or worrying that someone might go through my things while I was gone. After the incident with Qin Xiao, Shin Yuqing's reputation at school plummeted. No one surrounded her anymore, and no one ran errands or passed messages for her, but she never came to find me again. The cheating and framing failed, and the book theft and false accusation also failed. She probably knew I wouldn't fall for it again. 2 weeks passed, and she remained quiet, like a snail retreating into its shell. I was satisfied, without shin-yuching around. Even studying became more immersive. I started being able to solve the final math problems. My English reading comprehension was almost flawless, and my Chinese essay was selected by Teacher Wang as a model to read aloud to the whole class. Shen Sui has been in great form lately, Teacher Wang said from the podium. Keep up this momentum, and getting into a top-tier university won't be a problem. I lowered my head and continued working on the problems. A fire burned quietly in my heart. In my previous life, my grades were good enough to get into the university I dreamed of. I knew it. I had checked the answers and estimated my scores for every subject. If it weren't for that bowl of soup, that note, and those baseless accusations, my life wouldn't have turned out the way it did. In this life, I'm going to reclaim everything that belongs to me. One by one, days passed, and the college entrance exam drew closer. I began my final sprint. Waking up at 6 every morning and returning to the dormitory at 11 at night, I reviewed my mistake notebook 3 times, completed 2 rounds of past exam papers, and even recited ancient texts while waiting in line at the cafeteria. Teacher Wang said I was the most hard-working student he had ever seen. I said it wasn't about hard work, it was about fear. I was afraid of going through it again, afraid of being taken away again, afraid of opening my eyes and finding myself still lying on that cold street, with the gray sky above me. So I had to run far enough that they couldn't reach me. Just as I thought I could quietly wait for the college entrance exam, an unexpected event occurred. It was Monday, 14 days before the college entrance exam. I was sitting in the classroom doing a mock exam when suddenly I heard a commotion in the hallway. Someone was arguing, the voices growing louder and closer. Why won't you let me see my daughter? I'm her mother. The pen in my hand stopped. It was my mother's voice. This parent, please calm down. It's class time now. It was the head teacher's voice. Calm down. My daughter has been locked in this school for a month without coming home. Did you ask for my opinion? She's not even an adult yet. I'm her guardian. The door was pushed open. Mother stood at the classroom door, followed by the dean of discipline and 2 security guards. She wore a bright red coat, her hair neatly combed, her face expressing anger, but there was something in her eyes that I was familiar with. Triumph. All the classmates turned to look at me. Someone whispered, Shen Sui's mom is here. Some whispered among themselves, and some looked at me with sympathetic eyes. Mother strode over to me in 3 quick steps, grabbed my wrist firmly, and said, "Come home with me." I didn't move. "Mom, I'm in class." "What class?" Her voice rose sharply. "You haven't come home for a month, not even a phone call. Do you have any idea how worried your dad and I are? Your sister cries at home every day, saying you hate her and don't want this family anymore, and here you are, calmly attending class." Her grip was tight, her nails digging into my flesh. Shen Sui's mother. Teacher Wang hurried over from the office, keeping his voice as steady as possible. The college entrance examination is just around the corner, and this is the critical period for the final sprint. Boarding at school would be better for her. Beneficial for what? Her mother turned to glare at him. "You're her homeroom teacher. Of course you want her to do well and bring you face, but I'm her mother. I know what's best for her. A girl living outside for a month. What kind of talk is that? The school dorms are very safe. Safe? Who will take responsibility if something happens?" Her mother's voice grew sharper. "Let me tell you, I must take her home today. What right does your school have to stop my daughter from going home? She's not yet an adult. I'm her guardian, and I make the decisions." The dean of discipline tried to explain beside her. "This parent, the boarding is a voluntary application from the student, and we also considered the child's learning environment voluntary." The mother let out a cold laugh. "What does she, a high school student, know about being voluntary? Isn't it all because of your teachers pushing her? Let me tell you, if you don't let her move out of the dorm today, I'll report you to the education bureau. Let's see who's in the right." The classroom was deathly silent, with everyone watching the scene unfold. I didn't say anything, just watched my mother. Her expression was one of anger, her voice was agitated, but the hint of satisfaction in her eyes couldn't be concealed. She was enjoying this, relishing the act of storming into the school to cause a scene, delighting in dragging me back in front of everyone, and reveling in proving I'm her mother, and I have the final say. Shen Yuqing must have been very happy. Without lifting a finger herself, all she needed to do was cry a few times at home and say a few lines like, "Does sister hate me?" or "Does sister not want this family anymore?" and mother would come to drag me back for her. It was the same in my previous life. Every time I tried to step out, they would pull me back, with filial piety, with family ties, with, "Can't you let your sister have her way since her legs are not good?" So it is in this life, this time, they can't even be bothered to pretend. Shen Sui's mother, Teacher Wang's voice changed, no longer gentle, carrying a firmness I had never heard before. Shen Sui is an adult, even though she hasn't turned 18 yet. She has the right to choose where to prepare for her exams. The conditions in the school dormitory are more suitable for review than at home. And what? Mother interrupted him. You want to use her as a showpiece. Let me tell you, I don't care how many points she gets. For a girl, getting into a decent university is enough. Why go so far away? Being together as a family is more important than anything else. After saying that, she tugged me hard. Come on, go home with me. I didn't move. Shen Sui, her voice rose again. Are your wings hardened? You don't even listen to your mother's words anymore. Mom, I slowly spoke, my voice very calm. If you're withdrawing from the dorm, you have to let me pack my things first. She was taken aback, not expecting me to agree so readily. Of course, her tone softened a bit as she released my wrist. Go pack up, I'll wait for you here. I stood up, closed the test paper, capped the pen, and placed each item into my backpack one by one. As I passed by Teacher Wang, I glanced at him. His lips were tightly pressed together, his brows deeply furrowed, and his hands clenched at his sides, knuckles white. He looked at me, his gaze filled with anger, helplessness, and a deep sense of guilt. He had done his best, but he was a teacher, and across from him were the students' guardians. He couldn't stop them. I gave Teacher Wang a slight smile, a very small one, then shouldered my backpack and walked out of the classroom. In the hallway, my mother walked ahead, her steps quick, her bright red coat glaring painfully under the fluorescent lights. I followed behind her, watching her back, feeling a deep sense of calm inside. The process of withdrawing from the dormitory was handled quickly. My mother had prepared everything in advance. She had even brought my ID card and household registration booklet. The director's expression was grim, but he still signed the paperwork. When I walked out of the office building, Teacher Wang came running after me. Shen Sui, I stopped and turned around. He stood on the steps, backlit, and I couldn't quite make out his expression. You, he opened his mouth as if he had a lot to say, but in the end, he only uttered, take good care of yourself. I nodded. On the day of the college entrance exam, the school will provide transportation. Just gather at the school gate. I know. He fell silent for a moment, then suddenly said, Shen Sui, no matter what happens, don't give up. I looked into his eyes and suddenly felt like crying. It had been a month. In this month, Teacher Wang had applied for a dormitory for me, shielded me from countless calls from my mother, and told me in his office, you don't owe anything to anyone. He was the only light in this school for me. Teacher Wang, I said, I won't give up. His eyes reddened slightly, and he quickly turned his head away. Go on. I turned around and followed my mother out of the school gate. On the way home, my mother walked ahead, her steps light, still chattering away. Your sister has lost a lot of weight lately, crying every day, saying you don't want her anymore. How can you be so stubborn, child? We're all family. What's there to hold on to? Your sister's leg isn't well. Can't you just give in a little? Why make such a scene outside? I didn't say a word. When she got home, Shen Yuqing sat on the sofa, her eyes reddening as soon as she saw me. Sister, you're back. I glanced at her but didn't say anything. Walking straight into my room, behind me, my mother's voice came. See, your sister is back now. Don't cry. Mom made you some soup. The moment I closed the door, I leaned against it and closed my eyes. There are 14 days left. In 14 days, everything will be different. 1 week before the college entrance exam, Teacher Wang called me into his office. He took a room key card from the drawer, placed it on the desk, and pushed it toward me. Shen Sui, this is for you. I looked down and froze. It was a room key for the Yulai Hotel, the best 5-star hotel in the city, just 500 meters from the exam site, a 5-minute walk. Every year during the college entrance exam period, they reserve an entire floor for students, offering wake-up calls, nutritious meals, shuttle services, everything you could need. Teacher Wang, I booked it for you. He pushed his glasses up, his voice calm. It's close to the exam venue, the environment is good, and you can review quietly for a few days. My fingers clutched the room card, my fingertips burning. Don't worry about the room fee. he added. I've talked to the hotel, booked it under the school's name, so there's a discount. How much is it? No need to repay, he interrupted me, looking at me with a gentle gaze. You can repay me later when you get into a good university and become successful. My eyes suddenly stung. In my previous life, he was the same. He pulled me up when I was at my most difficult and stood by my side when the whole world abandoned me, but I disappointed him, again and again. Teacher Wang, I stood up and bowed to him. I will definitely not let you down. He waved his hand and smiled. Go ahead, study hard. As I left the office, I clutched the room card tightly, my palm sweaty. This card was my ticket to freedom. Back home, everything was as usual. Mother was cooking in the kitchen, father was sitting on the sofa watching TV, and Shin Yuqing was leaning by the dining table playing with her phone. No one asked me how things were at school these past few days. No one cared how my review was going. I walked straight to my room. As I passed the hallway, I caught a glimpse out of the corner of my eye that the door lock had been changed. It was new, shiny, and out of place with the old scratches on the door panel. I stopped in my tracks and stared at the lock for a few seconds. The lock on my room's door had been broken since the day I moved in. The latch was crooked, unable to close or lock properly. I had brought it up many times, saying I wanted to replace the lock, but each time I was dismissed. Why would you lock the door in a family? What are you hiding? Who are you trying to keep out? After that, I stopped mentioning it, but now, this lock had been replaced, new, good, the kind that can be locked from the outside. I slowly turned my head and looked towards the living room. Shin Yuqing was looking at me. Her gaze passed over the phone screen and landed directly on me. The corners of her mouth were slightly raised, and her eyes contained something I was all too familiar with: triumph, mockery, and a hint of well-hidden malice. She saw that I had noticed the lock, but instead of avoiding my gaze, her smile deepened even more. I averted my eyes, pretending I hadn't seen anything, and continued walking forward. As I passed by her, she stuck her foot out, very light, very quick, like an unintentional movement, but I saw it. I even noticed her toes slightly tensing, waiting for that moment to trip me. I didn't dodge, I fell down solidly. My knee hit the tiled floor with a dull thud, and the room key in my hand flew out, sliding under the coffee table. Oh dear, Shin Yuqing covered her mouth, her voice soft and delicate. Sister, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. My leg isn't very steady, I didn't notice. She spoke as she tried to stand up with her cane, looking as if she wanted to help me. Mother poked her head out from the kitchen, saw me lying on the ground, and frowned. How could you be so careless? It was sister who fell on her own. Shin Yuqing's voice trembled with tears. I didn't have time to catch her. I lay on the ground, not in a hurry to get up. Father put down the remote control and walked over, bending down to pick up the room card from under the coffee table, examining it from all angles. What's this? A hotel room card. I got up from the floor, my knees burning with pain, my voice as steady as possible. Teacher Wang helped me book it for the days of the college entrance exam. The living room fell silent for a moment, then father's face changed color. Hotel. His voice was low, like the rumble before a storm. What kind of hotel are you staying in? A young girl like you. It's close to the exam site. Close? What's so close about it? He slapped the room card on the coffee table, his voice growing louder. You're a high school student, staying in a hotel. Who booked it for you? That Mr. Wang. It's Teacher Wang. I knew it. My father suddenly stood up, pointing at my nose. A male teacher, booking hotels for students. What does he want? What is he up to? My mother came out of the kitchen, her apron still wet, her expression changing from confusion to disgust. Shen Sui, tell your mom. Does that Teacher Wang have any ideas about you? No, I suppressed my anger. He just wants me to do well in the exams, study hard. Mother's voice rose sharply. A male teacher, booking a hotel for a female student, and you're telling me he just wants you to study hard? Shen Sui, are you stupid? He definitely has ulterior motives. Maybe he just wants to. She didn't finish her sentence, but her expression said it all. Shin Yuqing chimed in softly from the side. Sister, Mr. Wang is so nice to you. Could it be that he likes you, but he's so old? Shut up. I shot her a glance. Her eyes immediately reddened, and she shrank into her mother's embrace. Mom, my sister yelled at me. Why are you yelling at her? My mother pulled Shin Yuqing into her arms and glared at me. Is what your sister said wrong? A male teacher booking a hotel for a female student. What would people think if word got out? You might not care about your reputation, but we do. My father snatched the room key and waved it in front of me. I'm confiscating this. during the college entrance exams, you stay at home and don't go anywhere. No, I said. Father was stunned, had never said no to him before. What did you say? I said no. I repeated word by word, that's the exclusive college entrance exam student room arranged by Teacher Wang for me. You have no right to confiscate it. The living room fell silent for a moment, then my father's face flushed a deep, angry red, and he raised his hand as if to slap me. I stood still, watching him. His hand froze mid-air, perhaps because I was too calm, so calm that it unsettled him. He gasped for breath. Do you have some shady business with that guy surnamed Wang? No. Then why do you insist on staying at a hotel? Her mother chimed in from the side. Can't you stay at home? Do you think it's embarrassing? Do you think all of this is beneath you? Shen Yuqing suddenly peeked out from her mother's embrace and said softly, maybe sister just wants to study quietly by herself. After all, it's the college entrance exam. She spoke, but her eyes remained fixed on the room key on the coffee table. That look was all too familiar to me. Greed, covetousness, desire. She thought it was something good, so she wanted to snatch it away. All right, my father said, slipping the room card into his pocket. There's no discussion about this. You stay home obediently. If that Wang guy comes looking for you again, you tell me, and I'll go to his school to settle the score. I stood there, watching him put away the room card, watching my mother lead Shen Yuqing back to the kitchen, watching Shen Yuqing pass by me with a smile that she couldn't hide. She didn't trip me with her foot again. It wasn't necessary. What she wanted, she had already gotten. I turned back into the room, closed the door, but it wouldn't latch. The lock was broken, and the new one was installed on the outside, making it impossible to lock from the inside. I leaned against the door panel, listening to the sounds outside. Mother was frying vegetables in the kitchen, the clanging of the spatula against the iron pan crackling and popping. Father had returned to the sofa to watch TV, the news anchor's voice steady and composed. Shen Yuqing had slipped over to the coffee table at some point, her footsteps light, the tap of her cane sounding one after another. Then I heard a very soft click. It was the sound of the room key being picked up from under the coffee table. I closed my eyes. After a while, her mother's voice came from the living room. Qingqing, what are you looking at? Nothing. Shen Yuqing's voice was sweet to the point of being cloying. Mom, this room card is so pretty, from the ULI hotel. I heard it costs a lot for just one night. Of course, it's a 5-star hotel. Her mother's voice carried a hint of pride, as if the room card belonged to her. Mom, don't you think it's such a waste for sister to stay in a hotel alone? Anyway, she won't be using it anymore. Shen Yuqing paused, her voice even softer. Why don't you let me stay there? My legs have been hurting lately, and I can't sleep well at home. If I could have a quiet place to rest, I might do better in my exams. Silence for 2 seconds. All right, my mother replied decisively. Your sister's grades are the same wherever she stays. Your leg is not good. You should rest well. Really, thank you, Mom. Shen Yuqing's voice was full of joy, and the sound of her tapping her crutch on the ground became lighter. I leaned against the door panel, listening to the cheerful laughter outside. Mother said, Qingqing, since your legs aren't good, ask the hotel to arrange a room on the first floor for you. Father said, that Mr. Wang is quite thoughtful, saving us a lot of money. Shen Yuqing said, Mom and Dad are the best. No one mentioned me, no one asked for my opinion, no one remembered that hotel room key, which was booked for me by Teacher Wang. It was Teacher Wang who paid out of his own pocket, wanting me to have a quiet place to study before the college entrance exam. It was Teacher Wang who believed in me, supported me, and pulled me out of the mud. In their mouths, he became an old pervert with intentions toward a female student, and that hotel room key became money saved for our family. I slowly opened my eyes. The corner of my mouth twitched once, then a second time, a third time. I was smiling. In the mirror, my hair was disheveled, there was a bruise on my knee, and the corner of my mouth was pulled into a curve. It looked utterly bizarre. No matter how you looked at it, but I was laughing at their greed, their shamelessness, their laziness to even keep the last shred of decency. They thought taking away my key card would leave me powerless. They thought locking me in this house would trap me anywhere. They thought Shen Yuqing would get good grades by staying in that hotel. A bunch of bandits, a bunch of foolish bandits who think they've succeeded. Laugh it up, rejoice. This is indeed a great gift I bestow upon you. The night before the college entrance exam, my mother pushed open my bedroom door with a bowl of soup in her hands. Sway sway, tomorrow is the college entrance exam. Mom made you some calming soup. Drink it while it's hot. She stood at the door, smiling, her voice gentle. unlike her usual self. I looked down at the bowl of soup. The brown broth was dotted with a few goji berries and dates, steam rising gently. It smelled wonderful, the aroma of angelica root, and something else, just a hint of something I couldn't quite place in my previous life. I received it in the same way. Back then, I thought that my mother had never cooked soup for me before. This was the first time. Maybe she had finally started to care about me. Maybe before the college entrance exam, she also wanted to be a little nicer to me. I finished it, then I missed the first exam. They said I slept like a dead pig, couldn't be woken up at all. It was all my fault. I believed it for 10 years. Now, that bowl of soup is placed before me once again. I lift my head and look at my mother's face. Her smile is flawless, with a hint of urgency and a trace of impatience in her eyes. She is waiting for me to drink it. Mom, I say, I won't drink it. Her smile freezes for a moment. What's wrong? Mom specially cooked this for you, goji berries and dates, to help you relax. You have an exam tomorrow. You can't afford to sleep poorly. Give it to Chingching to drink. I lowered my head and continued flipping through the error notebook in my hand. She has leg issues. She needs more rest. Chingching has her own. This bowl is for you. Her voice was still soft, but there was a hint of impatience. Be obedient, drink it and go to sleep early. I looked at her, and she looked at me. The air fell silent for a few seconds. I knew I couldn't keep stalling any longer. If I refused again, she would grow suspicious. She would try another approach, one I wouldn't see coming. I picked up the bowl. The soup was lukewarm, not hot. I tilted my head back and gulped it down in one go. Not a single drop was left. Mother watched me finish, and the smile on her face finally settled. She took the empty bowl, patted my shoulder, and said, "Go to bed early. I'll wake you up tomorrow." She turned and walked out, closing the door behind her. I heard her footsteps fade away, heard her push open Shin Yuqing's door, and heard her say, "Are you asleep? Mom made you some soup." Then I stood up and quietly walked into the bathroom, locked the door, turned on the faucet, and let the water run at full force, a low concentration of soapy water. Drink it down, then use your fingers to induce vomiting. My stomach contracted violently, churning, and I leaned over the toilet, vomiting everything I had just drunk. 1 mouthful, 2 mouthfuls, 3 mouthfuls, until there was nothing left in my stomach, until only clear water came out. I leaned against the edge of the toilet, gasping for breath. Tears streamed down uncontrollably, not because I was in pain, but because that was my mother, my biological mother. She drugged her own daughter, afraid she would score too well, afraid she would run too far. I wiped the corner of my mouth with the back of my hand, stood up, and flushed the toilet. I opened the window to let the smell dissipate, then returned to bed, lay down, and closed my eyes. About 20 minutes later, the door was gently pushed open. My mother's voice was soft, as if testing the waters. Sway sway, sway sway. I didn't move, adjusting my breathing to make it heavy and even. She stood by the bed and looked at me for a few seconds, then turned and walked out. After a while, Shin Yuqing walked in, leaning on a crutch. "Sis." I didn't move. "Sis, are you asleep?" No response. Shin Yuqing's breathing was right beside my face, so close that I could smell the hand cream on her. She watched me for a long time, then let out a soft, gentle laugh. That laugh was light, but very clear. "Chingching, stop fooling around. Come out," Mother called softly from outside. "Coming, coming." Shin Yuqing's voice was soft and sweet, the sound of her cane tapping the floor fading away outside the door. I closed my eyes, my fingers gripping the corner of the blanket tightly. Another half-hour passed, and the door was pushed open again. This time, there were 2 sets of footsteps. "Are they definitely in a deep sleep?" Father's voice. "Don't worry, 3 tablets of tranquilizers. Even a few 100 pounds of pig can sleep for a day." Mother's voice carried a tone of satisfaction. "What about the admission ticket? Let me find it." They started rummaging through my backpack, the sound of the zipper, the rustling of books being flipped through, the drawers being pulled out and pushed back in. I lay motionless under the blanket, my breathing steady. "Found it." Shin Yuqing's voice was low, but couldn't hide the excitement, hidden in the textbook. "Quite clever. Quick, tear it up and flush it down the toilet." Mother's voice was urgent. "Wait," Father suddenly spoke up. "What if she wakes up tomorrow and finds her admission ticket gone?" "Just say she lost it herself," Shin Yuqing said nonchalantly. "She's always careless anyway. What if she makes a fuss?" "Make a fuss about what?" The mother's voice turned cold. "Someone who can't even keep track of their exam pass wants to go to college. It's embarrassing just to say it out loud." "Exactly." Shin Yuqing's voice softened again, with a hint of a coquettish tone. "Dad, don't worry about it. once she misses the first exam, it won't matter whether she takes the rest or not, then we can send her out to work and earn some money for the family." After a few seconds of silence, "All right," father sighed, "let's do it this way." Then came the sound of paper being torn, once, twice, 3 times, the sound of the toilet flushing, the sound of 3 people tiptoeing out, the sound of the door being closed, the sound of a key turning in the lock, click, locked from the outside. I opened my eyes. The crack in the ceiling is still there, stretching from the light fixture to the corner of the wall, like a dried-up river. Slowly, slowly, I curl the corners of my mouth, smiling and smiling, until tears start flowing again, not out of sadness, but out of relief after surviving a disaster. When they searched my backpack, the admission ticket they found was a fake one I had meticulously prepared over a week. The photo was me, the name was mine, and the candidate number was the one I had memorized. But the barcode was wrong, and the QR code scanned to a string of gibberish. The real admission ticket was sewn inside my pillow. I turned over, buried my face in the pillow, and closed my eyes. Tomorrow would be a long day. The next morning, I woke up very early. The sky was just beginning to lighten, and birds were chirping outside the window. I lay in bed, listening to the sounds outside. My mother was preparing breakfast in the kitchen, the clinking of pots and pans soft, as if afraid to wake someone. My father coughed once in the living room, then spoke in a lowered voice. No one came to knock on my door, no one came to call me to get up. They thought I was still asleep, that I could sleep until afternoon. They didn't even need to come and check again. The door was locked from the outside, and I couldn't get out. Even if I woke up, I couldn't get out. I lay in bed until 7:30. The first exam of the college entrance examination starts at 9:00, and it takes at least 20 minutes to get from home to the exam venue, even by taxi. I sat up, tore open the pillow, took out the real admission ticket from the cotton, and put it in my pocket. ID card, pencil case, transparent file bag. I checked each item one by one and stuffed them into my backpack. Then I walked to the window and pushed it open. The wind blew in, carrying the coolness of the morning. The balcony of the neighbor's house next door was about a meter away from my window. Below was a 7-story drop, with a concrete ground and a few parked cars. I took 3 deep breaths. Then I climbed over the windowsill and stepped onto the air conditioner unit outside. My feet trembled, and my hands trembled too. The wind was strong, blowing my hair all over my face. I didn't dare to look down, only focusing on the balcony across from me. 1 meter, only 1 meter. I took a deep breath and jumped. When my toes landed on the balcony railing, I almost lost my balance and fell forward, frantically grabbing the railing. My knee hit the concrete floor, sending a sharp pain through me. But I managed to stay upright. I stopped. I crouched on the neighbor's balcony, trembling all over, my heart racing as if it would leap out of my throat. But I was smiling, grinning silently, without a sound. The sliding door of the balcony was pulled open, and a middle-aged woman poked her head out, holding a mop in her hand, glaring at me with suspicion. "Auntie." I quickly stood up. "Auntie, I'm from next door." She recognized me, the daughter of the Shin family. "Yes, yes, yes," I gasped. "Auntie, I'm in a hurry for the college entrance exam. My mom locked me in the room, and I jumped over from the balcony. Could I borrow your door to get out?" She froze for 3 seconds, looked at me, then at the window next door, and then at the transparent file bag in my hand. "What a sin," she muttered under her breath, not sure who she was cursing, then opened the door and let me in. "Hurry, hurry, don't delay." I ran out of her house. The elevator was too slow, so I took the stairs. 6th floor, 5th floor, 4th floor, 3rd floor, 2nd floor, 1st floor. When I burst out of the building door, the sunlight made me squint. The street was bustling with people and a constant flow of traffic. I stood by the roadside, waving to hail a taxi. One passed by, full, another one, also full, yet another, still full. My heart began to race again. Just then, a traffic police motorcycle turned the corner and stopped at the red light. Without a second thought, I rushed over and tapped his shoulder. "Sir, I'm a college entrance exam candidate, and I'm rushing to the exam hall. My home is too far from here, and I can't get a taxi. Could you?" He glanced back at me, looked at the transparent document folder in my hand, said nothing, and patted the back seat. "Get on." I climbed onto the seat and grabbed the back of his clothes. The siren blared, the motorcycle weaved through the traffic, the wind roaring in my ears. I closed my eyes, clutching the hem of his clothes tightly, my heart pounding so fast it felt like it might burst from my chest, but I wasn't afraid compared to jumping from the 7th floor, What is this? When I arrived at the exam hall, it was 8:45. There were still 15 minutes left. I jumped out of the car, my legs went weak for a moment, and I almost knelt on the ground, holding onto the car to steady myself. I bowed to him and said, "Thank you, uncle." He waved his hand and said, "Do well on the exam." I turned and ran toward the exam hall. After a few steps, I stopped again and looked back at him. He had already turned the car around and disappeared into the traffic. I didn't even get a clear look at his face, but I will remember him all my life. In the first Chinese exam, I handed in my paper early, not because I couldn't finish, but because I was too smooth. Those ancient texts to memorize, those reading comprehension questions, those essay topics, I had done them in my previous life and practiced countless times in this one. I could write them with my eyes closed. When I handed in my paper, the invigilator glanced at me. "Don't you want to check it again?" "No, thanks," I said, stepping out of the exam hall. The sun was intense, shining brightly on my face. I didn't go straight home. I took a detour from the back gate of the school to the neighboring community, walking back from another direction. Then I climbed into my neighbor's balcony, which was much easier this time, as it was broad daylight and I could see where to place my feet. Climbing back into my own room from the balcony, I closed the window, hid my backpack, and slipped the real admission ticket back under my pillow. Then I lay in bed, waiting. At 12:30, my mother finally arrived. The sound of the key turning in the lock was urgent and swift. The door was pushed open, and my mother rushed in, her face wearing a carefully crafted panic. Sway sway, sway sway, why are you still sleeping? Get up quickly, the college entrance exam. She saw me sitting by the bed and froze for a second. You're awake." "I'm awake." I lifted my head and looked at her. "Why didn't anyone wake me up?" Her eyes flickered for a moment, and she quickly continued, I called you several times, but you were sleeping so deeply, I couldn't wake you up. I drank your soup, and I couldn't wake up." I stood up, my voice calm. "Mom, what soup did you make?" I drank it and fell into a deep sleep. Her expression shifted, but before she could speak, Yuji appeared at the door, leaning on a cane. Her eyes red. "Sister, did you oversleep? Mom said you stayed up late studying last night, and she couldn't wake you up this morning. The first exam is already over." Her voice trembled, but not out of sadness, it was because of excitement. She suppressed the corners of her mouth, holding back the pride that was about to spill over, pretending to feel sorry for me. I watched her performance for a full 3 seconds, then I exploded. "Is the first exam over?" My voice suddenly rose, tears instantly welling up in my eyes. "Why didn't you wake me? Why didn't you call me?" "I did call you." My mother's voice faltered guiltily. "If you called, how could I not hear? I fell into a deep sleep after drinking your soup, and you're telling me you called." I grabbed the pillow and threw it on the floor, snatched the blanket and tossed it aside, pacing around the room like a trapped animal. "Where's my exam admission ticket? Where did my exam admission ticket go? You must have lost it yourself." Yuji said softly. "Shut up," I yelled at her. "Shut up." She was startled, shrank behind her mother, and tears began to fall. "Sister, don't be mad at me. I didn't make you oversleep." Her mother hugged her, turned to glare at me. "Why are you yelling at your sister? You overslept yourself. What does it have to do with her? Don't you know why I overslept?" "How would I know? You're the one who's not feeling well. That bowl of soup." "What about the soup?" My mother's voice was even louder than mine. "I just wanted you to have a good sleep. How was I supposed to know you'd oversleep? You're the one who loves to sleep in, and now you're blaming me." I looked at her, tears streaming down my face, my whole body trembling. Acted very convincingly. I almost believed it myself. "I don't care." I wiped my face. "I want to take the next 3 exams." "What exams are you talking about?" My father walked in from the living room, his voice low and heavy. "You missed the first one. Taking the rest is useless. Can't you just settle down?" "I will take the exam. Whether it's useful or not, I will take the exam." I raised my head and looked at the 3 of them. "If you don't let me take it, I'll report you to the Education Bureau, locking me at home and not letting me take the college entrance exam. Just try it." The living room fell silent for a moment. Father and mother exchanged a glance. Yuji lowered her head, her fingers gripping the cane, her knuckles turning white. All right. My mother softened. "First, if you want to take the exam, then take it. If you're determined, how can I stop you?" As she said this, the corner of her mouth twitched slightly. It was quick, very subtle, but I saw it. It was a smile. She is laughing. Yuji is also laughing. She pressed the corners of her mouth down again and again, but in the end, they still curled upward. She lowered her head, pretending to wipe away tears, but her shoulders trembled lightly. Ever so lightly, I stood in the center of the room, watching the mother and daughter pair, one feigning a sigh, the other pretending to wipe away tears. There was no sadness in my heart, only coldness. Laugh, go ahead and laugh. You think I missed the first exam, you think I'm done for, you think I can't go anywhere, but you don't know that I finished the first exam early, you don't know that my Chinese score is at least 130, you don't know that in the next 3 exams, I will hold on to every single point. Laugh, when the results come out, you won't be laughing anymore. In the next 3 exams, I gave it my all in every subject. For the last big math problem, I used 2 methods. For the English essay, I wrote my words as neatly as printed text. For the science multiple choice questions, I checked them 3 times, every question, every blank, every point. I held on to all of them, not letting a single one go. That afternoon after finishing the last exam, I walked out of the examination hall. The sun was shining bright and the sky was clear blue. The school gate was crowded with parents, some holding flowers, some carrying signs, some in tears, some laughing. No one came to pick me up. I carried my backpack and walked home alone. There's one more day left tomorrow, the last day, and one final exam. I know they won't let it go. They missed the first chance, and they thought I was finished. But what if I'm not? What if I do so well on the remaining 3 exams that I can get into a decent second-tier university? They won't let that happen. In my past life, that's exactly what they did. The first attempt didn't give them complete peace of mind, so they had a second plan. They slipped a note into my stationery bag and then reported it anonymously. Cheating, invalidated scores, snuffing out even the last glimmer of hope. On the morning of the final day, I got up as usual, ate breakfast as usual, and checked my stationery bag as usual. Pen, admission ticket, ID card, eraser, ruler. There was also a note. It was folded very small and tucked into the inner layer of a transparent document bag, almost impossible to notice without careful inspection. I pulled it out and unfolded it. The handwriting above is my mother's, shaky and crooked, as if written while trembling. Mom is sorry. You'll forgive Mom, won't you? Mom hopes you'll be happy. I stared at those words for a long time. Sorry. Did she know what she was doing? Did she know what the word sorry meant? She didn't know. She's just feeling sorry for herself. Write a note, say sorry, and then go on ruining my life with a clear conscience. Sorry. Such a light and airy 3 words. I crumpled the note into a ball and threw it into the trash can. During the final exam, halfway through, the proctor suddenly walked up to me. Student Shin Sui, someone has reported that you are carrying materials related to the exam content. We need to inspect your stationery. The examination hall fell silent for a moment. Some people were looking at me, while others were whispering to each other. I looked up and met the invigilator's eyes. Okay. I put down my pen, handed over my stationery bag, turned my pockets inside out, and laid out everything on the desk one by one. The teacher checked the stationery bag, checked the pens, checked the desktop, and checked under the chair. Nothing at all. That note, I had already thrown it away yesterday. The teacher frowned, muttered, "Continue the exam," and then walked back to the podium. I picked up my pen again and continued answering the questions. SSSSH, SSSSH. The sound of the pen tip scratching across the answer sheet, like the rain in spring. When the last exam ended, I walked out of the exam room. The sky was very blue, and the sun was very bright. The school gate was crowded with parents. Some were crying, some were laughing, some were taking photos, some were hugging. No one was waiting for me. It's over, everything is over. When I got home, the atmosphere in the living room felt very off. Shen Yuqing was crying in my mother's arms, sobbing as if her heart was breaking, her shoulders trembling as if she wanted to vomit out her very soul. My mother held her, soothing her with words like, there, while my father sat on the sofa, his face ashen, not saying a word. I stood at the doorway, watching this scene. Shen Yuqing looked up sharply at the sound. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying, snot and tears smeared across her face, but in that instant she saw me. A hatred that seemed to burn everything to ashes flared in her swollen eyes. It's all your fault. She struggled out of her mother's embrace, leaning on her crutch as she lunged at me, her voice piercingly shrill. It's all your fault I missed the exam. Why, it should have been you who couldn't take the exam. I sidestepped, and she stumbled, nearly falling, before her mother caught her from behind. Ching, calm down. Her mother held her, her voice urgent and filled with heartache. How can I calm down? Shen Yuqing's tears fell in rapid succession, her entire body trembling like a sieve. I was trapped in the elevator for a full 40 minutes. 40 minutes, the second exam had already started, and I was still stuck in the elevator. The hotel staff wouldn't call the firefighters, saying they were afraid of damaging the elevator, so they just kept stalling. By the time I got out, they wouldn't let me in anymore. As she spoke, her voice grew increasingly fragmented, like shards of glass that had been crushed. I stood at the door, watching her. The elevator malfunctioned. This had happened in my previous life as well. Several students taking the college entrance exam were trapped in the elevator and missed the test. One student's parents sued the hotel, causing a huge uproar that made the news. When I heard about it back then, I felt sorry for those students. 10 years of hard work, all ruined by an elevator. In this life, I deliberately chose that floor of that hotel, timed it perfectly, and made Shin Yuqing take that elevator before it broke down. If she likes to take what's mine, let her take it. The room card was taken by her, the hotel was her choice to stay in, and the elevator was one she walked into herself. Everything was her own choice. Sister, did you do it on purpose? Shin Yuqing suddenly looked up, her eyes filled with bloodshot veins. Did you know that elevator would break down? Did you deliberately make me stay there? I looked at her without answering. Mother also raised her head to look at me, a flicker of doubt in her gaze for a moment. How could I possibly know the elevator would break down? I said calmly. You chose to stay at that hotel yourself, and you took the room key yourself. Shin Yuqing was stunned. She opened her mouth, wanting to say something, but no words came out. She knew what I said was true. She had snatched the room card, insisted on staying at the hotel, and everything was her own doing. She couldn't pin this on me. The living room remained silent for a long time. Shin Yuqing bit her lip, tears still falling, but the hysterical outburst had passed. It was Shin Yuqing who finally broke the silence. She sniffed, her voice rough with a hint of unwillingness. Sis, how did you do on the exam? I looked at her, the corners of my mouth slightly lifting. Very good. There were only 2 words, but I spoke them heavily, steadily, each word like a nail driven into the ground. Shin Yuqing's eyes narrowed slightly. Very good, she repeated, her voice dripping with sarcasm. You didn't even. She suddenly stopped, probably remembering that the first round was something they couldn't mention. Mentioning it would mean explaining why no one woke me up, why I was given that bowl of soup, why the door was locked. Mentioning it would mean confronting the questions they didn't want to face. She bit her lip and swallowed the half-spoken sentence, but her eyes changed from hatred to suspicion. She scrutinized me up and down, as if re-evaluating this person. You overslept for the first exam, she rephrased, her voice soft but each word sharp. Even if you do well in the later ones, your total score won't be that high, will it? Sis, are you just putting up a front? I am not angry, nor am I making excuses. I just looked at her and gave a faint smile. The results will prove everything. Shin Yuqing's expression stiffened for a moment. She wanted to find guilt, defiance, or any hint of weakness on my face, but she found nothing. I was too calm like a still pond. Her lips moved, but in the end, she only let out a chuckle through her nose. It was short, light, like a small blade slicing through the air. Is that so? She said. Then I'll be watching. Her tone was that of someone watching a joke. What else could it be but a joke for someone who missed the first exam to claim they did well? My mother also glanced at me, her gaze devoid of doubt or expectation, carrying only a faint, perfunctory pity, as if looking at a naive child who had spoken words beyond their understanding. She probably thought I was just being stubborn. She likely believed I refused to admit defeat, refused to acknowledge that I was already finished, insisting on holding on to my last breath just to avoid looking so pitiful. My father never once looked at me. He sat on the sofa, head bowed, fingers tapping rhythmically on his knees, lost in thought, perhaps wondering whether Shin Yuqing, having missed the second exam, could still get into a vocational college. I stood in the center of the living room, under the gaze of 3 people, each with a different look: hatred, indifference, and apathy. No one asked if I was tired from the exams. No one asked how I had spent these past few days. I lowered my eyes and turned back to my own room. On the day the results were announced, many people came to our house. They were called by Shin Yuqing. Her classmates, friends, and a few people she usually got along with filled the living room. Shin Yuqing sat on the sofa, surrounded by a group of people, wearing a carefully crafted expression, 3 parts sadness, 3 parts concern, and 4 parts understanding. Sister might not have done well this time, she sighed, her voice neither too loud nor too soft, just enough for everyone to hear. She overslept for the first exam, and her condition wasn't good for the following ones. I'm really worried about her, that's for sure. Missing the first exam, how could she do well after that? Yuqing, you're just too kind. she overslept herself. Why are you worrying for her? Exactly, she's not trying hard. Who can she blame? Shen Yuqing lowered her head, pursed her lips, and her voice softened even more. Don't say that, sister is also working very hard. As she spoke, her eyes glanced in my direction. It was quick, very light, but I saw it, in that glance. There was no sadness, no worry, only an impatient, almost overflowing excitement. She was waiting. Wait until I make a fool of myself in front of everyone. I sat in the corner, holding a glass of water, neither drinking nor speaking. Shen Sui. Hurry up and check, someone shouted. Let's see how many points you scored. Yeah, stop dawdling, we're all waiting, maybe there's a surprise. The person who said this was full of sarcasm in their tone. Shen Yuqing's best friend Lu Yang was the most enthusiastic, directly bringing her laptop to me. The screen was lit up, and the score-checking website page was already open. Come on. You enter your exam admission number yourself. I put down my water cup and took the computer. The living room fell silent for a moment. Everyone stared at me, at the keyboard beneath my fingers. Shen Yuqing sat in the middle of the crowd, clutching a handful of melon seeds, not eating them, her knuckles turning slightly pale. I typed in the admission ticket number, one digit at a time. Slowly, steadily, I clicked on query. The page loaded for a while. The spinning icon circled once, twice, 3 times. The living room was so quiet that the ticking of the wall clock could be heard. Then the page popped up, 662 points. That's 30 points higher than I had estimated. The living room fell into a deathly silence. Some people gaped, some widened their eyes, and some dropped the melon seeds in their hands. Lu Yang stood beside me, his head close to the screen, his expression changing from anticipation to shock, and then to disbelief. This can't be possible, right? Shen Yuqing's smile froze on her face. The melon seeds in her hand were crushed, the shells piercing her palm, yet she felt nothing. 662, her voice changed, no longer that soft tone, sharp as nails scraping across a blackboard. How is that possible? You didn't even take the first exam. Who said I didn't take the first exam? I raised my head and looked into her eyes. She froze, everyone froze. You clearly. What exactly did I do? I stood up, my voice not loud, but each word clear and distinct. Did I get locked in my house by you? Did I drink the soup with the sleeping pills? Was I supposed to sleep through the afternoon and miss the entire college entrance exam? Shen Yuqing's face instantly turned pale. I didn't. You didn't. I looked at her. Your mother personally served me that soup, your father personally locked the door, and you personally tore up the admission ticket. Should I call the police now and have them investigate? Do you admit it or not? The living room fell completely silent. Those classmates and friends looked at each other. Some took a step back, while others lowered their heads, pretending to play with their phones. Lu Yang stood beside me, her expression incredibly complex. She probably never knew that her best friend had done these things behind her back. Shen Yuqing's lips trembled, her eyes reddened, and tears began to fall again. Sister, what are you talking about? I didn't tear up your admission ticket. Did you remember it wrong? Is that so? I smiled. Then who installed the new lock on my room door that locks from the outside? She fell silent, tears still on her face, but she had stopped crying. She just stared at me, her eyes filled with hatred, like a poisoned blade. You cheated, she suddenly said, her voice low but firm. You must have cheated. 662 points, and you didn't even take the first exam. How could you possibly have scored so high? You must have tampered with it. As she spoke, her voice grew louder and more confident, as if she were convincing herself and everyone present. Yes, you must have cheated. The page can be altered. You definitely changed it to deceive us. As she spoke, she snatched the computer, typed furiously on the keyboard, refreshed the page, and re-entered my exam admission number. The page loaded. 662 points. Refreshed again. 662 points. Try again. 662 points. Shen Yuqing's hands began to tremble. She pushed the computer away and suddenly looked up at me, her eyes bloodshot. So what? Even if you really scored 641. You didn't take the first exam, so how could your total score? I told you, I took the first exam. I said it word by word, my voice soft, but every word felt like a slap across her face. You want to ruin my college entrance exam, but I won't allow it. The living room was so quiet that one could hear the sound of breathing. Shen Yuqing's face turned from pale to red, then from red to green. Her lips trembled, wanting to say something, but she couldn't say anything, unless she admitted that They drugged me, admitted that they locked me in, admitted that they tore up my admission ticket. Lu Yang gasped sharply. This math and science scores are almost perfect. Shin Yuqing stared at the screen, frozen in place. Her fingers clenched the cane, the knuckles white as if about to snap. Impossible, she murmured. This can't be. Suddenly, she turned around, grabbing her mother's arm with a sharp, broken voice. Mom, she cheated. She must have cheated. Say something for me. Her mother stumbled slightly from the pull, nearly dropping the watermelon platter. She opened her mouth, glanced at me, then at the scores on the screen, and moved her lips, but no words came out. Shin Yuqing, seeing her mother remain silent, turned her head to look at me. The hatred in her eyes was almost overflowing, like a wounded beast, ready to pounce and bite me. It was you, wasn't it? The elevator incident was also your doing, wasn't it? You knew all along that elevator would break down, and you deliberately made me stay there. You were the one who snatched the room key yourself. I looked at her, my voice calm. She froze. You were the one who insisted on staying at that hotel. You were the one who walked into that elevator. I stepped closer to her, my voice growing softer. Shin Yuqing, all of this was your own choice. You took what was mine, and then an accident happened. This isn't my fault. It's what you deserve. She was trembling all over, tears falling one after another, but this time, no one gathered around to comfort her. Mother stood nearby, holding that plate of watermelon, her face filled with confusion. Father sat on the sofa, never looking up. Those classmates and friends Shin Yuqing had called to watch me make a fool of myself all lowered their heads, wishing they could leave this place immediately. Shin Yuqing looked at the empty living room, at those who had once revolved around her now avoiding her gaze, and finally broke down. It's you. It's all you. She lunged forward, reaching out to grab my face. I sidestepped, and she fell to the ground, her cane flying far away. She lay sprawled on the floor, crying heart-wrenchingly. You ruined me, you ruined me. I stood before her, looking down at her. No heartache, no satisfaction, nothing at all, just peace. I didn't ruin you, I said. You ruined yourself. Then I turned and walked out of that house. Behind me came the sound of Shin Yuqing's crying, my mother's soothing voice, and my father's silence. I didn't look back. This score is enough for me to leave this place. The day for submitting college applications is getting closer, and my mother's words are becoming more frequent. Sway, you should apply to a local university, she said, sitting on the sofa, knitting a sweater for who knows whom, without even looking up. It's close to home, convenient. I didn't say anything and continued flipping through the college application guide in my hands. You see, our city's normal college is pretty good. After graduation, you can become a teacher, steady and secure, and that polytechnic college, I heard the employment rate is quite high too. Mom, I interrupted her, I won't be applying to local schools. Her hand paused, and the needle pricked the sweater, making a hole. Why? She looked up, her expression familiar to me, furrowed brows, pressed lips, and a cautious unease in her eyes. Your parents are only thinking of your best interests. You know, you've never been far from home alone. If you choose a university outside the city and encounter any difficulties, your parents won't be there with you. How sad that would be. I looked at her face for a long time. Suffering. I repeated these two words and suddenly laughed. The greatest suffering I've experienced comes from you and Shin Yuqing. Staying away from you. I should never have any suffering in this lifetime. Her expression changed, her lips moved, as if wanting to say something, but no words came out, probably because every word I said was the truth, leaving her no room to refute. At night, I lay in bed, unable to sleep. At around 2 in the morning, the door to the room was gently pushed open. A figure tiptoed in, feeling their way in the dark, first to my desk, then to the bedside table, and then, my phone. With my eyes closed, I heard her pick up the phone and light up the screen. The faint light, orange-red, flickered through my eyelids. She was probably going through my phone, looking for the password to my college applications. My first choice, any information that could keep me in town. I opened my eyes and reached out to turn on the bedside lamp. With a click, the room lit up. Mother stood by the bed, clutching my phone in her hand, her expression frozen. Her lips were slightly parted, and her eyes were wide open, like a thief caught in the act. Mom, I sat up, leaning against the headboard, my voice calm. What are you looking for? Her voice stammered. I was looking for something. My phone ran out of battery, and I wanted to use yours as a light. Found anything yet? Not yet. No need to look. I took the phone from her hand, lit up the screen in front of her, and entered the password. I didn't write the password down on the phone, only I know it. Her face turned pale. My first choice is a university very, very far from home. I looked into her eyes and said, word by word, so far that you can't reach me. She stood by the bed, her lips trembling, wanting to say something but unable to utter a word. In the end, she just turned around and walked out, leaving the door open. In the days leading up to filling out the college application forms, I loudly proclaimed at home that I was going to apply to prestigious universities. I want to apply to universities in Beijing, I said at the dinner table, my voice loud and clear. With a score of 662, not a single point can be wasted. Shen Yuqing's chopsticks paused in midair, and the piece of braised pork she was holding fell back into her bowl. Isn't the cost of living in Beijing quite high? My mother asked with a frown. It's okay, I can apply for a student loan and work part-time. It's so far away, it's inconvenient to come back. I don't want to come back. The dining table fell silent. Shen Yuqing kept her head down, poking at the rice in her bowl with her chopsticks, over and over, making several holes in it. She didn't say a word, but I could see her fingers trembling. Late at night, as I passed by my parents' room, I heard the sound of hushed whispers coming from inside. We can't let her apply to schools in other cities, came Shen Yuqing's voice, low but unable to hide the biting resentment. If she runs off, she'll never come back. But she scored so high on the exam, we can't just, how can it not work? Shen Yuqing's voice suddenly rose a bit, then quickly lowered again. Last time we managed to make her miss the first round, this time we can also make sure she can't submit her application. There was a long silence. Her mother's voice chimed in, hesitant and uncertain. Then what should we do? First, take away her phone, and her computer too. Don't let her have any devices to access the internet. Once the undergraduate application period passes, she'll only be able to apply for a vocational college. Will this really work? Why not? Shen Yuqing's voice was as cold as ice shards. You're her parents, isn't it natural for you to discipline her? Just say you're worried she'll get addicted to her phone and affect her rest. Take the phone away. Who can say anything? The father coughed lightly. Then let's do it this way. I stood outside the door, listening to the voices inside, but I didn't push the door open. Moonlight streamed in through the corridor window, shining on my face. Cold, I smiled and turned back into the room. On the morning when undergraduate admissions opened, before dawn had even broken, my mother pushed open my bedroom door. She held a cup of milk, the steam rising gently. The white porcelain cup had a faded flower printed on its side. Sway, sway, have a cup of milk. I didn't take it. Mom, I don't want to drink it. Her expression changed for a moment, but she quickly forced a smile. Drink it, it'll give you energy. I don't want to drink it. Be good. I said I don't want to drink. Footsteps echoed from the living room. Father walked in and stood behind mother, his expression all too familiar to me, gloomy, like the sky before a storm. Drink, he uttered just one word. I didn't move. Shen Yuqing appeared at the doorway, leaning against the doorframe with a cane, the corners of her mouth curled up, her eyes gleaming with the light of someone ready to enjoy the show. Sis, just drink it. Mom heated it up especially for you. Don't be ungrateful. I'm not drinking it. I stood up, raising my voice. What are you trying to do? Last time you drugged me. What are you planning to slip in this time? Mother's expression flustered for a moment. No drugs. Then why are you so insistent that I drink it? Shen Yuqing's expression changed. She walked over with her cane, her voice sharp and fragmented. Stop pretending here. What's the big deal about Mom and Dad asking you to drink a glass of milk? Do you really need to be so guarded? Why, I'm guarded, don't you know? Enough, Father roared, stepping over in 2 strides and grabbing my arm, twisting it behind my back. His grip was like a vice, making my wrist ache. Force it down, he said. Mother came over with a glass of milk, one hand gripping my chin, the other bringing the cup to my mouth. Some milk spilled, dripping onto my clothes, warm, with a faint sweetness. Open your mouth. Her fingers forced my mouth open, her nails digging into my cheek. The milk poured in spurts, some running down the corners of my mouth, some choking me into my trachea. I coughed and struggled, but Father's grip was too tight, and I couldn't move. Shen Yuqing stood by, watching the scene, her mouth curving higher and higher. The cup was empty. Mother let go and took a step back, gasping for breath. Father also let go of me. I bent over, gripping the edge of the bed, breathing heavily, the taste of milk filling my throat, sweet and cloying, revolting. My vision began to blur. The world spun, the bed shook, the floor shook, the ceiling shook. I staggered, my knee hitting the ground, and then I knew nothing. When I woke up, I didn't know how much time had passed. The room was dark, the curtains drawn tightly shut. Something seemed nailed outside the window, wooden planks or sheet metal. Sunlight squeezed through the cracks, thin beams falling on the floor like cuts made by a knife. I tried to sit up, but I had no strength at all. My arms felt like lead, my fingers couldn't lift, and even my neck was limp. With great effort, I managed to prop up my upper body and lean against the headboard. There was a chair by the bed. My mother was sitting on it, head bowed, as if dozing off. She was taking turns watching over me, probably afraid that I'd find a device to submit my college applications. After I woke up, I didn't call out to her, just leaned against the headboard and stared at the ceiling. I suddenly felt like laughing. They thought they could trap me like this. They thought by taking my phone, locking the computer, sealing the windows, and drugging me, I'd be helpless. Then I really would be a fool. After 2 days of struggling, I finally regained my energy. My arms could lift, and my legs could stand. Although walking still felt a bit unsteady, at least I wouldn't fall. The window was indeed nailed shut. A plywood board was nailed outside, sealed tightly with nails. Sunlight could only squeeze in through the gaps between the board and the window frame, casting a few thin beams onto the floor, like the shadow of a cage. My phone was gone, and so was my computer. The drawers had been rummaged through, the backpack had been searched, and even under the mattress had been turned over. They were afraid I had hidden a spare phone, afraid I still had a way to get online, afraid I would submit my application at the last moment. They could think of everything, but they never considered that I didn't need a phone at all. Shen Yuqing came on the afternoon I regained my spirits. Leaning on a crutch, she stood at the door, with my mother behind her. Her chin was slightly raised, the corners of her mouth turned up, and her eyes were filled with triumph. Sis, her voice was soft and sweet, like poison steeped in honey. The undergraduate application deadline has already passed. Even if you wanted to apply now, you can't. She paused, tilting her head to look at me, as if admiring a trophy. But that's okay, the vocational college application hasn't started yet. Our city's vocational technical college is pretty good, close to home, and you can live at home. Mom and Dad said they'll sign you up for accounting. It's easier to find a job after graduation. I sat on the edge of the bed, looking at her. Sis, why aren't you saying anything? She took a step forward, her voice softening even more. Are you still upset? Don't be angry. Mom and Dad just want what's best for you. Why would a girl want to go so far away? Staying at home, with the family together, isn't that better? As she spoke, she reached out to take my hand. I avoided it. Her hand froze mid-air, and the smile on her face stiffened for a moment. But she quickly regained her understanding and considerate expression. Sis, I know you're unhappy inside, but things are already like this. Just accept it. Anyway, what university you go to doesn't matter much these days. In the end, everyone just ends up working for someone else. You were right, I spoke, my voice soft and calm. She was taken aback for a moment. Am I right? I nodded. It doesn't matter which university I go to now. Her smile deepened, thinking I had finally accepted my fate. So, where I go doesn't matter. I lifted my head, looked into her eyes, and slowly curled the corner of my mouth. The key point is, you're going to hell. Her smile froze on her face. What did you say? I'm saying. I stood up and walked toward her step by step. You really have the nerve to leave me here. Then I'll take good care of you, giving you a few stabs from time to time, slipping you some sleeping pills. After all, we're family, and you'll forgive me, right? Shen Yuqing's face turned pale, and she took a step back. You're insane. I'm not insane, I smiled. I'm perfectly clear-headed. You locked me up for 2 days, didn't let me submit my college applications, and ruined my future. I'll settle this account with you slowly. If it takes a day, then a day. If it takes a month, then a month. If it takes a year, then a year. After all, I can't go anywhere now, can I? My father had appeared at the door at some point. He heard the last few words, the muscles in his face twitched, and then he strode over and slapped me, smack. My face was knocked to the side, the corner of my mouth split open, and the taste of blood spread in my mouth, but I didn't dodge. I slowly turned my head to look at him, the corners of my mouth still upturned. He froze. Perhaps he was frightened by my expression, someone who had been hit, not crying or making a fuss, but instead smiling. He slapped me again, left cheek, right cheek, left cheek, right cheek. My ears were ringing, and my vision went dark in waves, but I didn't fall down. I stood holding onto the edge of the bed, blood from the corner of my mouth dripping down my chin onto the floor. 1 drop, 2 drops, 3 drops, he was panting, his hands trembling. You're still laughing. His voice was trembling. What are you laughing at? I'm laughing at how stupid you are, I said, my voice hoarse but every word clear. You think locking me up here solves everything. You think taking my phone means I'm helpless. You think. He kicked me in the stomach. I doubled over, my stomach churning, nearly vomiting, but I was still laughing until she coughed, coughing up bloody foam, yet still laughing. Shen Yuqing stood at the door, the smugness on her face gone, replaced by an indescribable expression, fear, and a hint of confusion. She probably didn't understand why someone who had been locked up for 2 days and beaten until her face was covered in blood could still laugh. Mom, her voice trembled, has she gone mad? Mother did not answer. She stood in the corner, her expression complex. There was heartache, but not for me, for how this situation had come to be. There was fear that I might really go mad, fear that I might really stab them with a knife, and there was something deep and indescribable. Perhaps it was regret, but the regret was not for harming me, it was for not fundamentally controlling me from the start, just like in a previous life. Be obedient. My mother came over, her voice as soft as she could make it. If you listen, your parents won't harm you, just stay at home, wait until you've registered for the specialized batch, and then you can go to school with peace of mind. Shut up. I raised my head and looked at her. Who are you to me? Her lips moved, but no words came out. Shen Yuqing suddenly spoke, her voice cold. Mom, don't waste your breath on her. If she wants to make a scene, let her. No one will believe her anyway. Who would believe that a father and mother would lock their daughter at home and not let her apply for university? She looked at me, her lips curling up. Sister, go ahead and say it. Let's see who more people believe, you or us. I didn't answer, I just looked at her, at her lips, at those eyes that thought they had already won. She didn't know, she knew nothing. After their family of 3 discussed it, they were probably afraid I would go out and blab, or that the injuries on my face would be seen. My mother brought over the first aid kit, and when the iodine cotton ball pressed against the wound at the corner of my mouth, it hurt so much that I gasped in pain. Don't move, she frowned, I'm applying medicine to you. Medicine was applied to the bruises on my face, arms, and waist. They cleaned me up thoroughly, dressed me in long sleeves and pants, and covered all the bruises. Dead men tell no tales. No matter what I said in the future, the 3 of them would stubbornly deny it. Who would believe the words of a crazy daughter? What a clever plan. They thought it was flawless, that they could keep me under their thumb for the rest of my life. On the 3rd day, I was sitting in my room when suddenly I heard a knock at the door downstairs. It wasn't an ordinary knock, it was heavy, with an air of unyielding authority. Open up, police. The living room erupted into chaos. The sound of mother's footsteps, father's voice, and Shen Yuqing's cane tapping the floor mixed together, like a pot of boiling porridge. Who called the police? Father's voice was both urgent and angry. I don't know. Mother's voice trembled. I didn't move. Sitting on the edge of the bed, I listened to the sounds downstairs. The door was opened, the footsteps of several people entered, steady and forceful. Shen Jiangwo, Xiao Shufan, yes, come with us. Why, what law have we broken? Illegal detention, intentional injury, and suspected obstruction of the college entrance exam enrollment order. You've been reported. The living room fell silent for a moment, then Shen Yuqing's voice rang out, sharp and fragmented. It wasn't me, I didn't do it. It was all my parents, take them all away. Footsteps, sounds of struggle, the mother's weeping, the father's roar, Shen Yuqing's screams, then everything fell silent. I sat on the edge of the bed, listening to the silence downstairs, the birds outside the window, and my own heartbeat. Then I laughed. At first, it was soft, gentle, like the sound of wind rustling through leaves, then it grew louder and louder, bending over with laughter, tears streaming down. I rolled off the bed onto the cold cement floor, curled up, clutching my stomach, laughing until I trembled, laughing until I couldn't catch my breath. They couldn't understand, can't figure out where the problem lies. The phone was confiscated, the computer was confiscated, the windows were sealed, and I was locked up for 2 days. They had clearly checked, clearly searched the entire room, clearly watched me in shifts, never leaving for a step. They don't know, my aspirations don't require their concern at all. I had already given the password and account to Teacher Wang, every school and every major in my application list. I had thought about countless times in my mind, written them down on paper, and memorized them thoroughly. In the last hour before the application deadline, Teacher Wang would log into my account, inputting each one by one and confirming them one by one. He did it, and that backup phone I had specially prepared, it was also in Teacher Wang's hands. There is footage from pinhole cameras in the phone. I installed one in the bedroom and another in the living room. The recordings are automatically uploaded to the cloud and synchronized to a backup device every day at 3 a.m. All those images are crystal clear. After Mr. Wang helped me submit my college applications, he waited for 2 days. Seeing that I still hadn't contacted him, he followed my instructions and handed the backup device over to the police, reporting the incident on my behalf. He said it was the most correct decision he had ever made in his life. It was also the hardest decision he had ever made in his life, because before that, I had told him, "Teacher, I know this is dangerous, but I want to get rid of them, I want to escape from this pain." He looked into my eyes for a long time, then he nodded. I lay on the floor and laughed for a very long time. After laughing enough, I got up from the ground, washed my face, and changed into clean clothes. I took off those long-sleeved shirts and pants and put on a short-sleeved t-shirt. The bruises on my arms were still very obvious, green and purple, like withered flowers. I don't care anymore. I put on my backpack, walked out of the room, and passed through the empty living room. There were still unsorted melon seed shells and fruit peels on the coffee table, unwashed dishes in the kitchen, and half-dried clothes on the balcony. Everything is still here, but the person is gone. I opened the door and walked out. The hallway was quiet, and the neighbors' doors were tightly closed. Probably not wanting to get involved in these matters, I walked down the stairs, one floor after another, from the 6th floor to the 1st. When I pushed open the building door, the sunlight was so bright that it made me squint. The sky was very blue, very high, and very distant. I took a deep breath, then slowly exhaled. The air was sweet. When I arrived at Teacher Wang's house, it was almost dark. He stood at the door, saw me, and froze for a moment. Then his eyes reddened. His lips trembled, as if he wanted to say something, but nothing came out. I stood at the door, bending deeply, 90 degrees, my forehead almost touched my knees. "Teacher Wang, thank you." He reached out to help me up, his hands trembling. "Don't thank me." His voice was hoarse. "As long as you're okay." I straightened up and looked at him. His hair had turned much grayer, and the wrinkles at the corners of his eyes were deeper. At just over 40, he looked like he was in his 50s. "Teacher," I said, "my application, it's been submitted." He nodded. "Beijing first choice. I checked the list you gave me 3 times, one by one. There won't be any mistakes." Suddenly, my tears began to fall. Standing at his doorstep, I cried like a child. He patted my shoulder, not saying, "Don't cry," nor, "It's okay." He just stood beside me quietly, waiting for me to finish crying. That night, I slept in the guest room at Teacher Wang's house. The guest room was small, with only a single bed, a desk, and a chair. The sheets were blue, washed pale but very clean. The pillows smelled of laundry detergent, the kind that had been dried in the sun. I lay on that bed, listening to the chirping of insects outside the window, and closed my eyes. Without sleeping pills, without a locked door, without a mother watching by the bed, nothing at all, only silence, only freedom. On the day the verdict was announced, I did not go to court. When Teacher Wang called to tell me, I was packing my luggage. I was leaving for Beijing in 3 days. "Shen Sui," his voice was hoarse, as if he had just come out of court. "The verdict is out." I put down the clothes in my hand and sat on the bed. Shen Yuqing, multiple charges combined: involvement in the college entrance exam cheating case, disrupting the exam admissions order, involvement in illegal detention, restricting personal freedom, involvement in intentional injury, causing minor injuries. Since she is a minor, she received a lighter sentence, 3 years and 8 months. I closed my eyes. Shen Jiangwo, Zhao Shufan, illegal detention, intentional injury, disruption of college entrance exam admissions order, and, he paused for a moment, the incident where Zhao Shufan drugged you before the college entrance exam was classified as intentional injury. Shen Jiangwo was involved in illegal detention and intentional injury, with serious circumstances. Both are principal offenders, with no mitigating factors. What were they sentenced to? Shen Jiangwo, 9 years, Zhao Shufan, 8 years. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. Shen Sui. Teacher Wang's voice was very soft. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," I said. "Teacher, thank you." After hanging up the phone, I sat by the bed, looking at the sky outside the window. I didn't go to see them, not that I don't want to, but I don't need to. I'm afraid of dirtying my eyes, afraid of affecting my mood. Those people have occupied too much of my life for too long. Enough. From now on, there will be no place for them in my world. The university is in Beijing, 2,000 kilometers away. On the day of registration, I walked into the campus alone, dragging my suitcase. The plane trees were tall, their leaves a vibrant green, and sunlight filtered through the gaps in the leaves, scattering like shattered gold on the ground. Someone rode past on a bicycle, the bell jingling. Seniors welcoming new students stood by the roadside holding signs, their smiles bright. Standing there, watching it all, I suddenly felt the world had never seemed so vast before. There was only sunlight, only the wind. Only an endlessly large world where I could run and jump as I pleased. The 4 years of university were the best 4 years of my life. I studied a major I loved, made a few friends, and received several scholarships. During winter and summer breaks, I didn't go home but stayed at school to work part-time, intern, and prepare for graduate school entrance exams. Every New Year's Eve, I would cook frozen dumplings alone in the dormitory, watching fireworks burst one by one outside the window. I wasn't lonely, not lonely at all, compared to that so-called home. This is my real home. In the autumn of my senior year, Shen Yuqing was released from prison. I didn't know when she got out or where she went, but I knew she came looking for me, because one day, on my way back to the dorm from the library, someone suddenly stopped me. She stood by the flower bed at the dormitory building, wearing a dull, dusty coat, her hair messy, her complexion sallow. At just over 20, she looked like she was in her 30s. When she saw me, her eyes lit up, and she quickly walked over, limping, moving fast, her cane tapping the ground with a clack 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 sound. Sis, she stood in front of me, looking up, her eyes red, tears falling down in big drops. Sister, I'm out. I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. These years inside, I've thought a lot. I shouldn't have treated you like that. I shouldn't have listened to Mom and Dad. She spoke and reached out to take my hand. I took a step back, her hand froze in midair, and her expression changed momentarily before quickly returning to that pitiful look. Sister, are you still holding a grudge against me? Please don't hate me. I've really changed. Look, my legs are even worse now. It's hard for me to walk. I've already been punished. What are you here for? I asked. I just wanted to see you. She wiped away her tears. I wanted to apologize, to ask for your forgiveness. Sister, will you forgive me? You're my only family left. As she spoke, her voice grew increasingly fragmented, and she cried harder and harder. A few passing classmates stopped to watch, whispering among themselves, "Isn't that Shen Sui, her sister? It seems so. She must be here to see her. She looks so pitiful, crying like that. What's going on?" Shen Yuqing heard those murmurs and cried even more intensely, her voice rising a notch. "Sis, I know you hate me, but you can't just disown me as your sister. Mom and Dad are both gone now, and you're all I have left. You can't just abandon me." As soon as she said those words, the gazes around us all changed. Some looked at her with sympathy, while others scrutinized me with judgmental eyes. A younger sister, crying and begging her older sister for forgiveness, while the older sister stood coldly by, unmoved. In the eyes of others, it must have seemed like I was entirely in the wrong. I didn't explain, nor did I get angry. I just watched her performance. When she had cried enough and her voice was hoarse, I slowly spoke. "You came to me, hoping I would forgive you." She nodded vigorously. "Or was it for money?" Her expression froze for a moment. "Do you still want me to take care of you, find you a job, support you?" Her lips moved, but no words came out. "Shen Yuqing," I called her name, each syllable clear. "I will never forgive you, never. Go back, and don't come again." Her face turned pale, then red, then green. The pitiful mask shattered, revealing a twisted, hideous face full of hatred. "Are you really this heartless?" Her voice changed, no longer soft and gentle, but sharp as a knife. "I went to prison, my leg is ruined like this. Don't you feel even a little bit of pity? That's what you deserve." Her face twisted, and the hand holding the crutch trembled. "You'll regret this." She gritted her teeth, her voice squeezing through the gaps. "I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of person you are. Go ahead." I turned around and walked into the dormitory building. Her curses came from behind, growing louder and more vulgar. Some passing classmates stopped to watch, while others quickened their steps and left. A security guard approached, asking who she was and who she was looking for. Her voice gradually faded away, eventually disappearing. Back in the dorm, I sat at my desk and turned on my computer. Then I logged into the school forum, clicked on the Campus Life section, and created a new post. The title has only 4 characters. Clarification: the body is a Video link. The video is not long, just 15 minutes. It is an edited version of those surveillance recordings from back then. In the video, my mother enters with a glass of milk. My father twists my arms behind my back, forces my chin up, and forces me to drink medicine, drugging me before the college entrance exam, tearing up my admission ticket, slipping me notes, obstructing my registration, and beating me. Every frame, every second, is real. I wrote a short passage. My name is Shinsui, a senior student. The people in the video are my parents and my adopted sister. Before the college entrance exam, they drugged me, tore up my admission ticket, and locked me in the house to prevent me from taking the exam. After the exam, they kept me locked in the house for 2 days to stop me from filling out my college applications. These videos are evidence I recorded back then. They were sentenced to prison because of this. My adopted sister, Shin Yuqing, was just released from prison and came to the school today to ask for my forgiveness and care. I refused. That's the whole truth, believe it or not. After posting it, I turned off my computer and went to the dining hall for dinner. When I woke up the next day, the post had already gone viral, over 3,000 replies and more than 10,000 likes. Someone shared the video on Weibo, which then spread to Douyin. In the comments, some said, "It's terrifying," others said, "This sister is so pitiful," and some commented, "How does that foster sister even have the face to ask for forgiveness?" Others questioned me, saying I was too heartless, that she was, after all, my real sister, and that I should forgive her. But more people were condemning those 3 individuals. Shin Yuqing probably didn't expect that coming to the school to cause a scene not only didn't ruin my reputation but also made her famous online. Her name, photos, and even the news of her release from prison were all dug up. Some found out where she currently lived, others located the small restaurant where she worked, and some went to the restaurant to film videos. She probably never expected how much malice this society holds towards the person who caused her sister to miss the college entrance exam. After that, she never came to find me again. After graduation, I didn't pursue further studies. Instead, I started my own business. I was lucky to catch the wave. After 5 years, the company is neither too big nor too small. Having established a foothold in the industry, the money I earned wasn't much, but it was enough for me to rent a house with a balcony in Beijing, keep a cat, and send things to Teacher Wang 2 or 3 times a year. Sometimes it was tea, sometimes warm scarves, and sometimes a box of his hometown specialties. Each time I sent something, I would attach a note with a few updates about my recent life. Teacher Wang would occasionally call back, his voice still hoarse and slow, asking if I was eating well, feeling tired, and if I had found a partner. I said it's all good, all good. This autumn, I went back to my hometown on a business trip. I went to visit Teacher Wang. He had retired and was living in an old residential area next to the school. His apartment wasn't big, and there were a few pots of pothos on the balcony, growing very well. I knocked on his door with 2 boxes of tea and a crate of fruit. When he saw me, he paused for a moment, then smiled. The wrinkles at the corners of his eyes gathered together. His hair had turned completely white, but his eyes were still bright. "Shinsui, you've lost weight." "No, teacher, I've actually gained weight." "That's good, that's good." He ushered me into the room and poured me tea. The teacup was printed with the school's name, but it had faded, the characters blurred and indistinct. We sat in the living room all afternoon. We talked about my work, his retirement life, and what our classmates from back then are doing now. He didn't mention that matter, and I didn't either, but just before leaving, he stood at the door and suddenly said, "Shinsui, you did well." He didn't say, "You did the right thing." He said, "You did well." I nodded, and my nose tingled a bit. "Teacher, I'm leaving now. I'll visit you again next time." All right, all right." He stood at the door, waving at me. As I walked out of the neighborhood, the sunset was perfect, painting the entire street in shades of orange. I stood by the roadside for a moment, taking a deep breath. The air carries the scent of osmanthus. It wasn't until I returned to Beijing that I heard about those things. It was my former neighbor who told me, saying that after Shin Yuqing was released from prison, she went back to that home and lived with her parents. 3 people, 1 just out of prison, and 2 who had been out not long before, crowded into that old apartment, living a very difficult life. No job, no income, barely getting by on subsistence allowances and past savings. Shen Jiangwo's health is failing. He developed chronic issues in prison, and his back pain is so severe he can't straighten up. Zhao Shufan works at the fish market, gutting fish for others, earning 2,000 yuan a month. Shin Yuqing has leg problems and can't find a proper job. so she works as a stalker at the convenience store near the neighborhood entrance, standing all day. Her legs swell up like radishes. Without me as a point of comparison, their lives are left with only each other. And each other is the person they hate the most. The neighbors said they fought every day. Shen Yuqing cursed her parents for being useless, for not giving her a good life, and for causing her to spend 5 years in prison. Xiao Shufan cursed Shen Yuqing for being an ungrateful wretch, saying that if it weren't for her, they wouldn't have done those things. Shen Jiangwo sat in the middle, silent, his face ashen. The arguments often escalated into physical fights. Once, Shen Yuqing cursed them again, telling them to go die. Shen Jiangwo couldn't take it anymore and slapped her across the face. Shen Yuqing froze for a second, then her eyes turned red, and she pushed him down the stairs. Shen Jiangwo tumbled down the stairs, hitting his head on the corner of the wall. He lost consciousness on the spot. He was rushed to the hospital and underwent surgery. His life was saved, but he never woke up. Vegetative state. Xiao Shufan sold the house to pay for Shen Jiangwo's medical treatment. Shen Yuqing felt sorry for the money, saying it was useless to spend it on such a person since he wouldn't wake up anyway. Xiao Shufan ignored her and continued paying the hospital bills. One night, while Xiao Shufan went home to fetch something, Shen Yuqing sneaked into the ICU and unplugged Shen Jiangwo's ventilator. By the time the nurse discovered it, Shen Jiangwo was already gone. The hospital reported to the police. The surveillance footage clearly showed Shen Yuqing walking in, pulling out the tube, standing there watching the numbers on the monitor slowly drop to 0, and then turning to leave. There was no expression on her face, as calm as if she were doing something completely ordinary. This time, Xiao Shufan did not choose to forgive. Perhaps she finally saw the truth, perhaps her heart had died, or perhaps she was just tired. In court, she said 4 words, "I do not forgive." Shen Yuqing, who had not received forgiveness, was sentenced to death for intentional homicide, with a 2-year reprieve. On the day the verdict was handed down, Xiao Shufan sat alone at the courthouse entrance for a long time. No one came to pick her up, and no one was waiting for her at home. The house was sold, her husband was dead, and her daughter was sentenced to death. She had lost everything. One day later, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar local number, with the area code of my hometown. I picked up, not saying a word. There was silence on the other end for a long time. Then came a woman's voice, hoarse and aged, as if she had been crying for a long time. "Sui Sui." It was Xiao Shufan. I didn't hang up the phone, nor did I speak. "Sui Sui, Mom is sorry. Mom knows she was wrong. All these years, Mom has been thinking every day, if only I hadn't done those things, if only I had been a little kinder to you, would things have turned out differently?" She couldn't continue. From the other end of the line came suppressed sobs, coming in waves, as if she couldn't catch her breath. I held the phone, standing by the window. Outside, the lights of Beijing were just coming on, and the traffic flowed like a river. "Sui Sui, can you forgive Mom? You're all I have left. You can't just abandon me." I closed my eyes. "Forgive, let's just go our separate ways," I heard myself say, my voice flat, as if speaking about something that had nothing to do with me. The crying on the other end of the phone paused for a moment. "If you need alimony in the future, come and sue me when the time comes. The court orders how much, and I'll pay that amount." Then I hung up the phone and added that number to my blacklist. Outside the window, the city's lights gradually lit up one by one, like stars fallen to the ground. I stood by the window, looking at those lights, for a very long time. Then I turned around, walked into the kitchen, and cooked a bowl of noodles for myself, added an egg, added some greens, steaming hot. The cat crouched at my feet, looking up at me, its tail wagging back and forth. I crouched down and stroked its head. "From now on, it's just the 2 of us," it meowed softly, rubbing its head against my palm. I laughed. From this point forward, life will be smooth sailing. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.